Ladies and gentlemen, Shreveport City Council Administrative Conference is now called to order. Will you please stand for the invocation? Almighty God, we grant today for this beautiful sunshine today. We thank you for giving it to us. We thank you, Lord, for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon this city. Lord, we pray for the citizens and the administration and all the workers that have put effort every day to keep this city safe and going forward. God, I ask that you forgive us of our sins and go with us now and guide us and watch over us. In Christ's name, amen. Amen. Face the flag, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Bradley? Councilman Everton?
Here.
Councilman Jenkins?
Present.
Councilman Paul?
Present.
Councilman Fuller?
Present.
Councilwoman Lee? And Councilman Bowles?
He's out of the chamber, but I know he's in the house.
In the house. Tomorrow, I will search diligently for a motion to approve the minutes of the Administrative Council of May 21st, 2017, and the City Council meeting Tuesday, August 22nd.
You can be assured that you will have somebody out there.
Great. Now, awards recognition. Does any council member have awards recognitions of distinguished guests at this time? Seeing none on the board, Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have two announcements and then one recognition of guests with a presentation. Today, we want to take a moment to remember all those who lost their lives in the awful tragedy of 9/11. We continue to pray for those families impacted and honor the memory of the victims. And actually, we attended the Patriot Honors over in Boulder City today at the Boulder Civic Center, and it was really very, very touching. And so we do want to remember all of those families who still suffer from that grave tragedy. We continue to pray for those impacted by Hurricane Harvey and now impacted by Hurricane Irma. Sunday, we deployed our firefighters to Florida to assist in rescue efforts for victims of Hurricane Irma. A team of 15 firefighters, 12 from Shreveport and 2 from Boulder City, and 1 Boulder Parish Fire District number 1, went to Marianna, Florida. They were staged at Chipola Community College and are now assigned rescue missions, so they've already left that college going out to other areas in Florida to help with rescue efforts from that storm. So we ask our communities to continue to pray for all those families and all the victims there. Today, Mr. Chairman and City Council members, we have guests from Corporate Realty who would like to make a small presentation and entertain questions from the council on a study that was done showing the economic impact of the multi-use development we proposed on Cross Bayou. At this time, we're going to ask Mr. Brian Wolf, I believe, is coming first, or is it Mr. Robert Simon? Mr. Robert Simon, who is the CEO.
Good afternoon. Good to see you guys again today.
Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Robert Simon from Birmingham, Alabama, 119 Richmore Drive. Thank you. Where's the driver?
Yeah, they're bringing it up. Mark, can you bring that up, Mark?
This will be the point where I start telling jokes and dancing.
There we go.
Thank you. So, we're here to talk today about the project that we were here speaking of a few weeks ago, which would be an urban mixed-use development in downtown Shreveport. We believe that this project is a transformative and catalytic project. It is a edge of prime location, as y'all are all familiar with. It allows a mix of uses that are currently not here and we believe would go and complement the city very well. We like the MSA population in Shreveport and certainly the Arklatex being the hub of the Arklatex with over 2 million people.
Good afternoon. My name is Meredith Calhoun. My address is 2625 Aberdeen Road, Birmingham, Alabama. Thank you for having us today. I wanted to talk a little bit about the impact that we believe this project can have on the Shreveport area. There's sort of a national resurgence and movement into city centers, mostly to celebrate communities that we know have a rich history, and mostly to meet a demand from a younger population for the type of experience that they want to have. And so we see that opportunity in Shreveport and know that with this project we can create a more active, vibrant, and secure downtown. New advertising for business and business development opportunities for your local businesses would be realized in this, we believe. And also regional and national media exposure, of course. Diversified, affordable entertainment alternatives for families. And we really want to build on the Downtown Development Authority's efforts to continue to enhance the community pride, the work that's been done. We see this across all regions like this when the community is able to participate in something like this and be a part of it. There's a real pride and a coming together of a community. And so we hope that that would happen with this as well. Go to the next slide. So this is our vision for Shreveport in year 2025. We'd love to see you touted as one of the top cities in the Southeast in the Travel and Leisure magazine.
Good afternoon. Brian Wolf, Director of Development for Corporate Realty.
Address?
I'm sorry. It's 2617 Willowbrook Lane, Birmingham, Alabama. This project was contemplated in two different phases. I'm kind of repeating some of the things we went over last meeting, but phase one will involve the sports complex and arena, which should be approximately 3,200 seats. Multifamily for-rent apartment product, which should be about 250 units. A hotel of about 125 rooms. And then retail and restaurant of about 25,000 feet in phase one. Phase two, we add some additional multifamily, additional retail and restaurant square footage, and some office components as well. Go to the next slide. The public and private investment, obviously the city is considering potentially floating bonds to help construct the sports complex. We would come in and invest approximately $139 million over the next 3 to 5 years to construct those two phases that I just spoke about. And then Carol Clark is going to talk a little bit about the economic impact analysis.
Good afternoon, City Council, Mayor. Carol Clark, 1555 8th Avenue West, Birmingham. So what's a catalytic economic development project without economic impact? We commissioned Dr. James Richardson he's a professor of economics at LSU, to analyze both the during construction and ongoing economic impacts of this development program. And he really just focused on phase one. And so we see there's $141 million in new economic sales and transactions, 563 new construction jobs during the construction phase, about $28.2 million in earnings, and $4.18 million in state and local tax collections. So that's the aggregate impact during the construction phase for the phase one of this mixed-use program. So looking at ongoing economic impacts, which would be your annual economic impacts for the phase one program, which again is the sports complex, for rent multifamily units, a 125-room hotel, as well as restaurant and retail, about 25,000 square feet. He projects $25 million annually in ongoing economic transactions and sales, $3.9 million in new wages that are associated with more than 161 new permanent jobs, and 580,000. Well, more than $580,000 a year in new state and local tax receipts. So he wanted to be here today and has asked us to take the questions you may have, and so we'll be happy to get answers for any questions that you may have for the economic impact.
Okay. So can I ask some questions right now then on that economic, or is that I'm supposed to ask those questions later?
Whenever you'd like to.
Okay, that's fine. I just didn't know if I was supposed to check.
Won't miss that, man.
That's it. Okay.
Do you want to?
No, go ahead, and then we'll.
We're answering questions now.
Yes, so we've got questions that were asked of the community, and
Okay.
and one of those was, how can we be assured of the Pelicans and Corporate Realty's commitment? And the way that we typically do these things are in the tri-party agreement. So whatever is asked of us and whatever is asked from you and whatever is asked from the Pelicans all get combined into one agreement. Our process does not supersede your process. We are here to make sure that these things go hand in glove together and work with the community in order to build the best possible project and projects in the city. So that was one of the things that I'm not sure we touched upon before, but we just wanted to make sure you were aware of how those structures would ultimately come together. Brian, you want to talk about the site issues?
So one question that's come up consistently is, are we aware of the site's issues? And the answer is yes. We've just completed our kind of preliminary site investigations on the land that's been proposed for this development. We're aware it has some challenges, but what I'll tell you as an urban developer, there are no challenges on this site that we don't face on any site that we face every day in our development cycle. And we've successfully overcome every single issue that we see on this site, on other sites, and other parts of the Southeast. So does that mean that we're not going to be able to overcome those? I don't know, but I mean, we have a very good track record of overcoming those things. We have great members of the team. They're great members of this community that we plan on engaging to help us with those issues, whether they're environmental, geotechnical, historical, archaeological, whatever the issue may have been. We've come across those in other sites in the Southeast and successfully overcome those. It's just a matter of having the requisite time to be able to overcome those and do it successfully.
Good afternoon, Dale Davis, Birmingham, Alabama, 1701 First Avenue. So we've been hearing about all this great economic development and opportunities for the city of Shreveport, and we want to address really quickly how it's affect, I guess, local minority participation. We'll go a little bit into how we want to document the plan and whatnot, but I want to say that this kind of project is critical for opportunity. And what happens is that most small disadvantaged businesses need pipeline, and this project again will be a multi-year project that will allow small and minority businesses opportunity to participate in a significant pipeline of work. And we plan to do that. We have a couple of key goals, and now we want to, like I said, we want to be inclusive, and we want to really not only comply to the Fair Share program, but exceed the Fair Share program. So we have some goals. We want to stay, we want meet and greets. We'll have public room meetings. We'll have we'll right-size project bid packages, so that way firms who have certain bonding capacity can participate. So we'll do everything possible to make sure that local and minority businesses are involved in this and included and have their fair share of opportunity.
So that kind of dovetails into the next question, which is, are we going to be cannibalizing current businesses to move them into this new development? And I think the best way to answer that, is a simple no. That certainly would not be the goal. Moreover, we're looking to help develop, into second locations for some of your existing good operators, and also to bring in different types of operators from maybe outside the market that can help to lift up into new concepts that you aren't seeing in your market now. So the multifamily, of course, will provide more downtown living opportunities. That's a new product versus a redeveloped product that you have now. This isn't better or worse. This is just something different. It's more choices for your citizens. The retail that we want to curate, it will really focus on who your great operators now. I can think of a few that we've been able to experience as we've been visiting the city multiple times, and having second locations or even that next concept that those chefs and curators want to create would be great. So you're really bringing new visitors into downtown. We know there's the pioneers that are already in downtown enjoying it, but we think a sports complex kind of broadens the interest in who can be downtown.
The question has been asked, would we proceed with our mixed-use development without the sports complex? Very simply, the sports complex is the urban anchor. That is the platform that we develop from. We feel very strongly in this platform, and that is the method by which we would come here and do this project. We have done one-off projects in the past and have found that bringing the projects together at a simultaneous period of time really helps affect the best results for everybody. I thought I would offer that slide next, a little bit of our experience in the Parkside District in Birmingham, Alabama, to illustrate what I'm speaking of. So in 2010, we delivered the Railroad Park. The Railroad Park was a 16-acre piece of land that before it became the Railroad Park really was just holding up the earth. There was a couple of warehouses down there, and it was somewhat of a blighted area. After the Railroad Park was done, our company did, by the way, we did not do the Railroad Park. That was a community engagement that was both public and private, but we raised money for 3 different park initiatives, and the Railroad Park was one of those. We did do what was called at the time Cityville Block 121, which has been named Station 121. This was the first urban infill wrap product in downtown Birmingham. The importance of this project was, number one, the fact that it was done at this particular time, which, as you all know, was a point in time in our history in the United States and abroad where the economy was not doing well, the banking systems had failed, and we were looking to get something done, and fortunately were able to partner with both a bank and another development partner to build this project. This project has served as the competitive market set for other wrap projects in Birmingham. Most of the projects that have been built, I think we're up to run 2,100 apartment units in the Birmingham metro area, and they've all been able to use this as a comp, which is very good. Railroad Square was a development that was done by another developer. Again, in the same context, just starting to fill out space around the Railroad Park. Very important because, what you're looking for when you do these types of projects is the proverbial pebble in the pond. The next pebble to drop would have been Regions Field. This was a AA franchise baseball stadium that was put next to the Railroad Park, a $64 million project. We have, a lot of people ask, why would we do this? The baseball team was in Hoover in a baseball stadium that at that time was starting, I guess it was going to be about 25 years old. We really felt that by bringing this downtown, it would energize downtown in a way that we'd never seen before. There were a lot of skeptics. A lot of people sat there and said, who's going to come downtown to watch a baseball game? We've set attendance records every year, and we're averaging about 400,000 people a year. Then you start to see the ripple effects of all these things. And all these projects, Bakers Row, Alagasco Metro Center, the Stockyard, Live Parkside, the Negro Southern League Museum, these are all additional projects that have happened since the Railroad Park and the baseball stadium were put in place. The Rotary Trail was a continuation of the Railroad Park, and the Rotary Trail extends in Birmingham for, another 6 blocks. So it's created a pedestrian orientation to the city and really started tying it all together. Camp Smile a Mile venue at the ballpark was a project that we did. 20 Midtown is the first urban anchored grocery store and mixed-use development downtown. Again, we've finally gotten to a level of both occupancy and residents and businesses where Publix came in and did a new grocery store, so that was impressive. The Intermodal, which is our facility where the train station and bus station and all those things are coming together, that is just now opening up, as well as these 3 other buildings, plus the Ealaton Hotel, the Pizitz, and the Thomas Jefferson Tower. As you can see, when you look at all of this, the development just continues, and we're very proud of that. We know that it would not have happened without a catalytic project, and thought that we would illustrate this to you. Be happy to take questions at this time.
Anyone on the board there?
Sure, I just have 2 specific questions on the report itself.
Yep.
And so I understand he's not, and I was going to send an email then I read an article in the newspaper, and I thought maybe I'm missing it in the material. But when we talk about tax collection on the 2.5 or 2.75% sales tax generated in the new development, what is that figure?
Okay, I'm going to have to note your questions and send them to Dr. Richardson tonight.
Okay.
And provide an answer for you tomorrow. So I do want to clearly note your questions. Not being an economist, although I've been an economic development director, I don't feel qualified to answer the question.
In your slide up there, it talks about tax revenues, but I take that when it talks about it there that it's talking about broad with the ripple effect, and I'm talking about tax revenues.
So direct sales tax?
Tax revenues
Okay.
within the district.
Okay, so sales tax, lodgings tax.
Whatever, I understand property tax, I can do the math pretty quick on
Okay.
how that part works.
Okay.
But on what they think in terms of sales tax or other types of tax revenue, given our current tax system,
Okay.
what would be generated within the development, if that makes sense?
Okay.
Not across the city, but isolated to any of the new development.
Okay, so direct sales tax as
Direct
opposed
sales
to
tax.
multiplier effect.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if it's in there, I'm just having trouble pulling it out.
It's in.
And the article in the paper pulled it out, but I don't see where they're taking it from here. So,
Yeah, there were two portions of that report. The way I read it, there were the indirect taxes associated with the development itself, leveraged at about 400 and something thousand, and then there was the ripple effect, which was the multiplier across the city.
Yeah, there's two assumptions in the report.
Which was about?
One is that the retail that was inside the development, the retail and restaurants, I think in total it's about 25,000 square feet in phase one. We'd assume $400 per square foot, which frankly is kind of on the conservative end of retail and restaurant development in our history. And then using that's where we apply the 2.75% tax to. There's also an indirect portion, which is where the ripple effect comes in that Mr. Crawford referenced, which I have to get with Dr. Richardson on that because he didn't. This is a summary report. He hasn't provided us his full report yet, so I don't have his analysis on how his ripple effect works, but there's a multiplier there because it has a ripple in the secondary market. It's not a direct impact. And so I'll have to ask him for his methodology, and I can bring that tomorrow night.
okay, so but to be clear, this retail sales being estimated at 400 per square foot, so I would multiply 400 times 25,000 times 0.9 times 0.0275 is my answer.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. Did he say in the report that I don't have the report in front of me. Did he say he reduced it by 90%?
90% occupancy.
Or by 10%?
I mean, I'm assuming that the 90% occupancy is that.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, if that is indeed, that's what I'm trying to confirm is how I generate.
Yeah, that's the assumption we gave him to go by, and he agreed with that assumption.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, and then.
Do you need us to check on the indirect?
Nope.
Okay.
Then my other question that I think somebody must have asked by now, but in a paragraph in there, it reads, page 1, under economic impact Cross Bayou, the new private facility will generate property taxes of about $1.637 million in the first year they're on the tax rolls, with $0.425 million going City of Shreveport will receive $3.44 million, or average about. There's a typo, and there's some we're missing a clause in there.
Yeah,
that-
there's an incomplete there. Yeah, we'll ask him. Yes.
And I mean, I'm not saying it's just.
Yeah.
Sure, it all
I see
makes
what you're
sense. I'm just missing where the differentiation is between those two acts.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
That's right. Any other councilman?
Chairman,
Councilman Bradford?
I just have a couple of questions. I appreciate corporability coming in, presenting what you presented today. Like you, we have also did research and tried to see how this project would work. It's been my experiences that, and you can help me, and help my city understand what we're missing. The entity come into the city proposed to make a $139 million investment. Yet, 8 out of the 10 responses that I'm getting from constituents, the citizens, don't feel it's a good proposition. What are we missing? Tell your experiences. Tell me what are we missing for our city to be so reluctant to embrace this idea?
You know, we're in an unusual period of time in the U.S. and abroad, but certainly in the southeastern United States, and the disparity between major metropolitan markets and secondary markets like Birmingham, like Shreveport. We have to continuously look at the opportunity to tell our story, and everybody wants to tell a different story. The Dallases, the New Yorks, Atlantas, they're growing extraordinarily fast with population. It's an easy choice for companies to choose to go to places that have large employment base, universities, etc. When you look at secondary markets and you look at quality of life, which is why people look at secondary markets, they want to be able to tell a story. You know, again, in Birmingham, we built green space first. Then we brought the baseball stadium back. We had people that said they would never go to a baseball game downtown. And it was a racial issue. It was black and white. We've overcome that. We have 400,000 people a year coming down there. It's family entertainment. So, you know, to us, you do a project like this, we like the size, scope, and scale of this project. $30 million is a lot of money. It's nothing to sneeze at. We think the sense of pride in the community would go up. We think the standard of living and quality of living in the city center would go up and would complement other things coming forward. And so it's a catalyst. It's transformative. A lot of times, you know, people don't think they can do it. I think it's a leadership thing. I think that we have to sit there and say we can do this. We can be better. We can be more attractive. All cities have the same issues, big or small. They're trying to serve a lot of people, and historically, the tax that is generated in the city center is one of the largest tax increments that a city will enjoy. So we think that it is positive for these types of things to occur. We think it's positive to continue to try to prime the pump, so to speak, so that you can create a destination where you can bring people, both direct and indirect, and allow for an opportunity for the city to grow. That's how we feel about it.
Let me ask you a follow-up question.
Certainly.
Again, I don't have to mention to my colleagues that we've been getting overwhelmed with the communication. Okay. A lot of communication is from, both proponents and opponents. In regards to the proponents, who's encouraging us to support this idea, what other entities within this apparatus of investment would you expect to make commitments within the business community, within government? Certainly, city and corporate realty should be the catalyst, but there should be others that you would expect to be a part of this.
Great question, and I believe that what you will see is an investment on all levels. Again, we couldn't, and again, I'm using Birmingham as a comparison because I see so many similarities to Shreveport and Birmingham. And, you know, we've been downtown doing projects for a long time, one-off projects. We've done 18 historic renovations. We love small buildings. We've got a great great selection of buildings to do. We see the same things in Shreveport. But when we started our initiative and we started working with the city and city leaders to build the green space, you saw a groundswell of support corporately. When we built the baseball stadium, we felt that same groundswell. We built 29 boxes that were all taken, sold out. Currently, right now, we're looking at doing an arena update, a new football stadium for UAB, which the business community got behind to get re-engaged. They had canceled the program. The business community, an outcry from the business community of this is not good for Birmingham because we need that undergraduate student population to grow, came together, raised $44 million. Again, one thing didn't do it. It was step after step after step. So today, we kicked off 2 weeks ago with UAB. We're looking at doing over $300 million of expansion to the Civic Center and the football stadium and other things. And I think if you came to Birmingham, you'd notice that Birminghamians are in love with Birmingham again, and I think that's a big thing. The corporate community has definitely gotten behind it. And so, you know, how you get everybody engaged is, again, each city has its own way. I believe that the business community will support the Pelicans in a huge way. I think they will support the downtown development that we're proposing. I think they'll come to the restaurants and the bars and the soft goods. Certainly, we're expecting them to come rent apartments because we believe that is a good thing. We think that the hotel product will do well and complement the other hotel products that are here. So, you know, I mean, I wish we all had the guarantees, but, you know, I think I had mentioned earlier a tri-party agreement. And a tri-party agreement states not only what the expectations are, but when they are. So you shouldn't get any further over your skis than I am over my skis or the Pelicans are over theirs. And if we can come together and do this all at the same time, which is not easy. I mean, this RFP needed to be responded to. It's not necessary, you know, they were dictating that time frame, not us. But you know, sometimes that's the way opportunity is presented to you. We definitely feel that there's an alignment issue right now because sometimes it's the cart before the horse, and y'all are being asked to do something right now, which just gives us the opportunity to take the next step. We're going to catch up. We're going to put ourselves in a position where you're, again, not extended any more than you need to be. We don't want to be more extended than we need to be. And I don't think the Pelicans do either, but I think they would come together at the same time, and that's what we're really trying to accomplish.
Again, we would certainly embrace something of this magnitude, but the fact that the Pelicans have not made a commitment to either city, there has within the studies, and I haven't had any feedback on any projections as it relates to corporate sponsors or season ticket commitments. Does that deter, or is that a concern that commitment has not been forthcoming?
I can't speak for the Pelicans. I can speak for myself. And when we saw this opportunity and felt this opportunity, we jumped in because we see so many things about Shreveport that we like. And we went down and made a presentation to the Pelicans, and I think they saw the same enthusiasm that we saw. I think there's an opportunity to get them to the table and make a commitment. I don't think they'll make a commitment without you guys making a commitment. So, you know, and I don't blame them. I mean, you know, nobody wants to wind up not having a deal. You certainly don't want to go build a building and not have a tenant. You know, it's just that we don't want that to happen either. So, you know, to me, we're locking arms, joining hands, and trying to figure out how to do it together. And you know, if you give us the opportunity to do this, you won't be disappointed.
If I may piggyback, I do need to kind of clarify where the Pelicans are coming from. One of the things that they've said to us is, you know, they're trying to give us all an opportunity to work through it. This legislation, and I do need to say this, does not commit us to anything. this piece of legislation that we have on the agenda for this month. However, Pensacola now has taken the opportunity to do what we're doing. At first, their RFP did not include a new complex, but once they saw that that was an attractive feature for the Pelicans, they are now building, and they are now committing to build a new complex because they want them just that badly. So the Pelicans will not make a commitment on sponsorships and all of that until once they award the RFP. And here again, I don't blame them because, you know, they need to be able, this team is going someplace. And Pensacola is excited, they're pushing for it. And I do need to say that we're pushing for it because, you know, if I didn't feel that it was critical to get us going in our community, to develop economically, it's not the answer to all of our problems. It's not. But we need something to jumpstart us. And I feel with this company, I mean, we're open for business. We talk about people wanting to do business in Shreveport. And we turn away $139 million with a company who's willing to invest in Shreveport to help give our children and grandchildren and future generations an opportunity to have a good quality of life and good jobs. I'm still puzzled by that. But I do want to thank Mr. Simon for coming and all of his team from Birmingham. But I needed to say that.
The one other thing I would add, not to what the mayor's just said eloquently, but to your question about sponsorships, the NBA is a marketing juggernaut, and I have no doubt that they will be able to reach into the community and make sure that this product is one that you can be proud of, that is supported. And, you know, the pride I think you get, I think they're going to have an ESPN contract. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you get to see Shreveport marketed in ways, shapes, and forms that you never have. And that's what it is. And it's just a question of how you see yourself and how you see your community and how you want to take your community and take it forward. And this is, and I will echo one thing that you said, this is not the salvation. Yeah. This is just a step. And it's going to require more and more steps. Economic development, Carol Clark right here ran the Office of Economic Development, the city for another mayor. You know, it's incremental, right? So it's just one foot in front of the other.
Let me
yes, sir.
Ask my final question. And let
you
me
can keep going. I'll be right here.
And the mayor's comments is well received. Okay. But at the same time, and maybe something happened over the years that affected our self-esteem as a city. I don't know, but we don't, at least I don't, and there's some others that feel the same way. We've had opportunity with sports events, with sporting events, and we have been successful. Okay. I'm not sure even now. Somebody could help me, and maybe the clerk could find out tomorrow if we even have a title sponsor for our Independence Bowl, which is only 3 months away. And I would respectfully disagree that we are on the level of Birmingham. Okay, I think we're a good city, but our socioeconomic apparatus, I don't think can equate with Birmingham. But you said something that, and this is my last question, is that the Pelican and the arena was very appealing to your company in regards to what you see, how you visualize, how you can put those fashions together to make it very, very workable. In your research of Shreveport, in your attraction to Shreveport, is there any other anchor are there any other venue type opportunity that could be an alternative to the Pelicans if the Pelicans don't work out, for you to maintain your interest in this city?
It's a great question. We think that there are absolutely other ideas that could be out there. It's kind of the proverbial bird in the hand. And, you'll forgive me for my brutal honesty, but to have the NBA in your front door and to say no to something like that is a great opportunity, one that a lot of other cities don't have, and it is the NBA. It's not the CBA, it's not the CBL, it's not some other organization, it's the National Basketball Association, and that is very appealing to us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I want to recognize State Representative Barbara Norton, and maybe later she'll have something to say, but I did want to note that she was here with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Can I ask one more question? And this is something I think we have all obviously heard from a lot of constituents, but there is a kind of a line of discussion that has been more recent, and I had thought I understood it had been discussed before. However, as it's being discussed more now, I think it would be helpful to have some clarity, and that's some of the environmental conditions at the site.
Yes.
And I don't know who the appropriate person to ask this of, but I just wanted to see if we could get a better understanding for the record of, who it is that is supposed to address those issues at the site. If it's the current landholder, or if it would be in what stage of that process those are.
And I'm not sure we're at that point. Brian Williams, do we have any idea about who's going to be addressing some of the environmental issues? Did you hear?
I'm sorry.
Hear his question?
Can you ask me?
I was just curious as to, in the discussion about the environmental remediation that would need to take place at the site, who would be the responsible party be for that?
The responsible party would be the owner of the property. The DEQ has said that they do not, in our conversations, they are more willing to discuss a remediation plan when there's a proposed project like this. The responsible party ultimately is the scrapyard. They're going to have some obligations with or without this project. The ultimate goal to remove an eyesore in a site like that from a downtown urban area is a goal of the DEQ, and so they would like to see a project that helps to cap exposure pathways, do remediation, and ultimately puts the onus on the responsible party, which is at this time the scrapyard. The city would not take any kind of liability issue without proper procedures from the DEQ. I mean, we're not interested in taking on that headache and burden, but ultimately the salvage yard has their issues. They have to remediate them, and this is a good opportunity for them to do so, something that the DEQ actually encourages because it puts back that land into proper use as well.
Thank you.
And I was going to make one other note, just to speak to your question about the economics of Birmingham versus the city of Shreveport. They were roughly close in population. I think Birmingham's about 212,000 people, but their median income in last year's census was 31,000. I think ours is around 38,000. So our median income is actually higher than the city of Birmingham's was last year. So I just wanted to make sure we're clear that it's an apples to apples comparison when you're doing this. And I know as I speak to it, I try and kind of balance being a citizen and being the city attorney, but when you're talking about keeping people my age here, when you're talking about keeping professionals and giving young professionals opportunities that they don't have, this is not the catalyst, this is not the end all be all, but it is a catalyst to something like that. It does provide an opportunity for a quality of life that the area has not been accustomed to. We did our diligence in our office. We did our diligence through the professionals we consulted with and through the mayor's office to make sure that we were presenting a feasible plan. So, I understand that there are concerns about the messaging. I understand that there are some concerns out there about getting facts out. But ultimately speaking, we're really making a decision of what kind of catalyst does the city want? What kind of opportunity? I just frankly don't know of an opportunity when somebody's going to walk in with a professional league or sports tourism is a $9 billion industry. That aside, I just don't know of an opportunity when you're going to see somebody walk through the door and say, I'm interested in investing in your city, $140 million. And an anchor for that is an NBA opportunity. I just don't. And so I appreciate your time on that. But I did want to make sure that was clear.
And I appreciate that because I said at the last meeting, council meeting, that my son, who's a bit older than you, is doing quite well.
Right.
Middle class. He and his wife expecting their first baby in a few days. It's not as impressed about this opportunity as you are because he's very smart and. He's a little different in his perception of things in this town because he doesn't travel the night scene as much. He's more serious about business opportunities and business ways, whereas he thinks that there are some good points in this, but like others. And I said that maybe we have lost confidence in ourselves as a city and as our citizens, especially with regards to appealing to our young people and keeping them in Shreveport. You don't think a sports team would do it, but at the same time, anticipating more of solidarity within the city, and having peers and having others that look at the future, and he and others of his thinking use. And this may be the issue, use past experiences as a guide to what may happen. 14, 15 opportunities that sports was going to be a catalyst of change in the city. 14 over the last 30, 35 years, 14, those opportunities was going by the wayside. And with all the other uncertainties about this proposition, but again, I mean it's us, it's council, it's administration, it's leadership, collectively leadership, because again, out of all the responses that we've been getting. I mean, nobody have said, and before I left the office, I saw where in the chamber somebody's endorsing this project. But within those responses, nobody have made a commitment to say, and by the way, I'm gonna be a corporate sponsor. Oh, by the way, we're gonna be season ticket holders. I can guarantee from my corporation that I can guarantee that this development will be appealing to me putting space to do business down in this area.
And I think a big portion of that is that we're not there in the process yet.
Okay.
This legislation only authorizes.
I understand the legislation. Right. But I'm just saying that when McDonald come here, there was banners all over the city saying, "Welcome, come, please come." But I'm saying, at this stage, even at this early stage, in this preliminary stage, there's a sense of doom and gloom. And I'm not. Listen, I'm open. Okay, I'm open for everything. But I'm saying at the same time, the citizens of this city deserve to have what they want to have. Unfortunately, we represent the citizens of this city. And if the citizen of this city is not on board, then we have to get that consideration. We have to merit that as very serious. Very serious.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure.
Mayor Thomas, go ahead.
And if I could just kind of piggyback, and then if we can, I guess we'll be through with that.
I have a question before
Yes,
we go.
okay. I just want to say that, as mayor, I represent the citizens of this city also. And I've gotten just the opposite. And I go all the time in this city, 6 and 7 days a week, 12 to 16 hours a day. Yes, I've gotten the opposition, but I also have gotten a lot of feedback from other citizens. And so I do want that to be on the record. Okay? A lot of positive feedback, in fact, from citizens about the project, because they want the jobs, they want the quality of life, and they want to open this city up for business. They want businesses to locate here and help make life better so that we can generate tax dollars to be able to do more and provide more and more services to the citizens. So I represent the city as the mayor. Okay?
And I think Mayor, if you don't mind, I think one of the things that is missing, and Councilman Bradford talked about it, certainly Attorney Bradford talked about it, the mayor mentioned it too, was we don't have all the answers today. At every forum that I've spoken at every forum that the mayor's spoken at regarding this project, we don't have all the answers to the environment. We don't have all the answers to the land acquisition. We don't have a lot of answers that you're going to ask today. And so what we're doing, bringing this to the public, is saying, let's work together, this administration, this council, this public, to find those answers that we need to move this project forward. If there are some of those in this city who came out against this project even before the details were released, if they worked half as hard to try and say, how can we try and say yes? Yeah, I don't like the way it's structured, and yeah, we've got environmental issues that we're dealing with. We've got land acquisition. But you heard from Corporate Realty themselves, a billion-dollar company who does this for a living, saying they haven't seen anything. They've read all the reports that they haven't dealt with before. And so the resolution that you're going to have before you tomorrow, all that resolution does is allow that conversation to continue and those questions to be carefully vetted. And at the end of that process, if they can't be answered to the satisfaction of this administration, to this council, to this public, to where the land can be developed properly, the land can be acquired properly, and it can generate enough revenue to sustain itself, then we're not going to go forward with that. But by saying no tomorrow, simply because you're scared, simply because you're fearful of what? Of success? I'm just speaking.
Mr. Crawford.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Yes, sir.
Let's don't go there, okay? Because the citizens are speaking. We're not scared of the project. It's the citizens are speaking loudly. You may not be hearing them in the mayor's office, but we're hearing each one of us. And they're calling the mayor names, in which I do not agree and do not approve of. Now, Mayor, I'm going to ask you one question. You say you don't have the answers, but I'm going to give you one that you can answer.
Okay?
Because it's been, I think, done you injustice. Are you not going to move the salvage yard to Councilman Bradford's district? That's been said that you are. I'd like to give you an opportunity to answer.
No, we're not. And we had that discussion with the parish commissioners when we sat down with them. We looked at the North Industrial Park area as one site. And when the commissioner who represents that area said that may not be a good idea, we took that off the table. And we did that with the parish commissioners present, because we went to talk with them about land acquisition, and they knew that. So, when that story came out.
So that's a lie. That's absolutely the lie they put out there against you.
Well, let me tell you, I've been called a lot of names, but I'm still standing. Because I'm a Christian and I don't call names.
Right.
I don't bash people. I'm here as the mayor of this city to make sure that we can provide great services and that we can progress. And, people do what they do, but I'll never do that. And no, that is not the truth. And they knew that was not the truth.
Right. Mr. Crawford, I'm sorry.
And Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I wasn't saying that about the constituents. I was saying, are we? Yeah. I live in Shreveport too. My family lives here. My kids go to public school here. I want my children to stay here when they grow up. That's why I came back here. All I'm saying is, what does it hurt? What does it hurt to say yes to tomorrow's resolution, which only extends the process? It doesn't allocate any money. It allows us to answer some of those questions that your constituents are asking to you. It is far and gone from saying that this project will go through. Far and gone. There is much more discussion that needs to happen. There is much more legislation that will have to come before this body. And so I think by saying no tomorrow, I think you're prematurely not even allowing yourself some of those questions that you have in your mind, or your constituents that may be on the fence, to have those questions answered. So that's all we're doing tomorrow, is asking you to allow this conversation to go forward in the public venue, so we can hear all of those comments and conversation, allow us an opportunity to speak to those groups that we've been doing over the last 2 weeks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, can I follow up, Mr. Crawford? And I certainly appreciate your remarks. I think they was very articulate. Will tomorrow's vote trigger any regards to the Pelicans timetable? Are you familiar with when they're trying to make a decision?
I think they were trying to make a decision already, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think tomorrow signals to them that we're being at least progressive. And like Robert had said earlier, there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle. But I think it shows them that we at least have our arms interlocked from a council, from an administration, from a community that's trying their best to make this project a reality without committing any dollars, without saying yes, with still having to answer those questions. So I certainly think it sends them a clear message that we are still moving forward in the right direction to try and make this a reality. So I think it sends a positive message to them.
But you don't see in the foreseeable future, before we resolve some of these issues, that they will make a determination?
I think the mayor said it, and Corporate Realty said, I can't speak for the Pelicans in their time frame, Mr. Bradford.
Sure. Mayor? All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other council member? Councilman Gordon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've had many questions about this project, and I've directed a lot of those to Mayor Tyler and her staff. There's many more questions, and there are things that I haven't received answers to. And I think it's the same way with many in the public who have been asking questions. Councilman Bradford, you brought up McDonnell Douglas years ago. And, you know, I think if we look back when the city was trying to recruit McDonnell Douglas here, we communicated eye to eye, or we dialed a rotary phone. And that's how we got information back and forth. And this is a new day. And social media and email and the way that information is passed back and forth as quickly as it's passed back and forth now, sometimes accurate, sometimes lacking some accuracies. You know, I have probably received 50 emails today, as each of us up here has, and a number of voice messages. And if I listen to those voice messages and when I read those emails, there's a lot of opinions that have been formed without all the information necessary, and sometimes without factual information. And I think that's difficult, and it clogs the process up a little bit. It disturbs me that elected officials have encouraged citizens to contact Corporate Realty as well as the Pelicans and tell them don't come to Shreveport. That's a problem.
It is a problem.
And as many citizens who have come to this podium saying, I want something new in my city, I want something different in my city, this may not be the project. But my questions aren't answered yet. I don't know about the rest of you. But we've got to get accurate information, accurate answers, and then decide how to move forward. Or we're doing all the citizens a disjustice. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Reports. Anyone have any questions on the report? Okay.
Proper standards.
Proper standards, anybody have a question?
In the effort to save some constituents some time, would it be at all possible if we heard the property standards cases right now? Yep.
Anybody object to that?
Anybody be open to
Can
that?
I make a motion?
I mean, I just want to make sure. I haven't asked Terrence this either. I'm ready. You ready? Okay.
Yeah, how many cases?
There's 4. They're all in my district, and it's my son's
And you got recommendations?
back to school night tonight. So I think he's going to be mad if I don't get things. So I want to make sure we get these.
Move those.
I'll make a motion.
So I'd like to, I'd move that we hear the property standards appeals at this time.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Councilman Jenkins. Any discussion? All in favor, please vote.
And from a procedural standpoint, I would recommend if we have any requests to speak relative to those property standards, we do let them speak before we.
Vice Chair, say do not.
Okay. You see what I'm saying? Just bring them up, so let's make sure we give them a chance.
Yes, that's good. Thank you so much.
We're getting some significant feedback on the audio system. Does anyone know what's causing that? What's that?
You want me to go check? Jeff?
I mean, are y'all?
I'm hearing it too.
Okay. I think it got a little better just there.
I'll go.
Well, I mean, they can hear us. I mean, I believe are y'all hearing that feedback, Brian?
I don't hear them.
Okay.
Not anymore.
I mean,
Maybe it's better.
Karen, you hear it?
They turn the mic.
They turn the mic.
Okay.
Great. So, Terrence, if you could, let's proceed.
Okay. Our first case is 728 Austin Place.
In this case, council, this is one that has been before us for quite some time, and I am happy to report that it is finally at a stage in the restoration of this building that we are ready to recommend that we dismiss the property standards violation of this particular project.
Don't that sign out in front of the...
You can stop by there
Open for tours.
and go for a tour.
Yeah, they've gotten it moved along enough where they have siding. Now, there is a portion of the building that still doesn't have new siding on it, but it is closed up enough that you feel comfortable moving to dismiss this.
Do you have a motion? Vote on?
A motion from Councilman Everson, seconded by Jenkins.
Any discussion? Please vote.
Thank you very much for all your efforts.
401 Spring. Yeah, and Debbie has
Okay.
been wonderful. There she is. I wasn't sure if she was going to make it today or not, but she has been done a wonderful job of restoring this, and she's now even giving tours
And
of
the
the
motion passed.
property. So it's really it's come a long way, and it's great to see a citizen come in and save such a
That's right.
sensitive property that has a lot of history in our community.
Good
And we're
work.
just so
Thank
proud
you,
of her and
ma'am.
wish her continued success in her restoration. Now the next one.
Next case is 401 Spring Street.
This is another historic property, and if you'll recall, this one is the one that has some roof damage that's substantial. And what we did is we asked the owner to find a buyer for the property who would move forward with a restoration of it. And we gave a time frame for them to submit some benchmarks of what they've done. And I'm glad to report that on this property, they have gotten the property under contract for sale, contingent on the awarding of some tax credits. And the applicant has already made their tax credit application, and that process is moving along successfully now. So it's not ready to be dismissed. It certainly has has continued work to be done. But what I would like to do is extend this for 90 days. So my motion is to...
Motion by Councilman Everson, second by Councilman Lee. Any discussion? Please vote.
I'll tell you what.
Okay, our next case is 437 Boulevard Street.
Motion passes.
Oh,
Now, 437 Boulevard, another historic property. This one is one that has also been on our agenda for some time, and the person who owns this property has restored a lot of properties in this neighborhood. This particular one is not moving as fast as we had hoped, so we did reach out to the owner, who could not be here today only because of the fact that he has a home in the area that's been affected by Hurricane Harvey, so he's there right now. But he did send back very definitive timeline of how he will get this addressed, and his contractor is to start working on September 25th, and will take 7 days to complete the test. That's 7 calendar days, not business days. So he should be ready by the 1st of October with all of these in line. So I'd like to postpone to the first meeting in October to allow for all of these violations to be addressed.
Second. Motion by Councilman Evans, second by Councilman Jenkins. Any discussion? Let's vote. And that motion passes.
Boss Avenue is also in District B, and this one, Terrence, if you want to give an update on what
the owner has signed an affidavit. One of the owners has signed an affidavit. We've sent the affidavits to California to be signed, and as soon as they return to us, then the city will abate the asbestos and demolish the structure.
So do we need to just make a motion to uphold the property standards?
Well, right now, until we get those 2 affidavits, I would say we push it off to October also.
Okay, so the motion would be to postpone till October in order to get the necessary.
Motion by Councilman Evans, second by Vice Chairman.
Is that first meeting in October?
Yes.
Yes.
Any discussion? Please vote.
For the record, I will say this property owner has been very good to work with and has really acknowledged the concerns of the property standards and looks to be working quickly to resolve them.
That's me again.
And motion passes.
Hey,
Thank you.
Terrence, would you mind waiting to the end? I got a couple of things to talk to you about. Sure. It won't be too long.
I bet I already got it.
Oh, you bet you already got it? Okay.
He knows what you're talking about.
That's it. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Terrence.
Public hearing.
Thank you, council.
We have one public hearing tomorrow, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
It's on an ordinance amending and replacing chapter 102-127 code relative to spiritual affairs. That's the one.
Okay. Adding legislation, Mr. Crawford. Added tomorrow.
Not that we're aware of, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And Mr. Vice Chair, do we have any public comments at this time?
Actually, we do.
Vice Chair will control the time.
Mr. Andrew Quirvis. State the name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes, please.
Andrew Kirby's the 4th, 300 Marshall Street, Suite 200, Shreveport, Louisiana 701. I was here to talk about, and I am here to talk about the zoning for the C2 at the Odon Seafood. I've gotten emails from Councilman Jenkins and Everson. But I think Councilman Corbin said it right. You know, if we're going to be trashing our city and calling people, you know, you have to look at a bigger picture. You have a property that's been sitting in a state of disrepair for 8 years and a restaurant that was closed for a lot longer. I was in Dallas, Texas, taking my wife to the doctor at Scott White Clinic over in Baylor, and you see the redevelopment of that whole area. Now, we have different laws here in Shreveport than they do in Dallas, but you got a CVS in an area that's been brought, to code, selling drugs, neighborhood grocery. beer and wine, liquor, but that's not our code yet. But the point is, if you want this town to grow, you got to let the process work the way y'all had voted on. I can't put a space plan or a buffer zone on a site plan if I don't have a C2. It's just a simple question. And a C2 is what I've sent all y'all, is not like a B2. So whether my project works or doesn't work, because what the neighbors want, doesn't help this town grow. I mean, if you look at it in Councilman Fleury's district, on Mansfield Road, it's growing, this, that. They live in neighborhoods. They're surrounded by it. But you just can't say no all the time. You got to be a progressive city. We got to get our property taxes up, our revenue up. So there's got to be a compromise. I may lose my deal, but the property needs to be C2 in the back, and you got to let the board in PC decide whether the site plan under a special use fits it, and then you can appeal it. So I'm fighting whether it should be a special use or C2. I'm telling you, as a developer, it needs to be one zoning. The days of the old being B1 sliver here to B2 there, it doesn't work anymore. You got to put faith in somebody else. Then they can appeal it back up to y'all, and then you can do whatever you want to with whatever the project is. But you can't. You got to let them get out of the starting blocks. It's a logical step. Or, I know my time's getting up. You're reading the paper. I put a bigger deal in Bossier City that this town would love to have, and has half the problems. That's a problem. I'm a long-time resident, and my family is. We'd never do anything that would be detrimental to this town. We got to get out of our provincial thinking, or we're never going to grow and be the city we can be. So there's got to be a compromise. You just can't have naysayers all the time. So I appreciate your time and effort, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Mr. William Spalding. State your name and address for the record, please. Yeah, 3 minutes left.
Mr. Chairman, there's a lady standing up in the back. Is she trying to get somebody's attention?
Well, I was just waiting to Jeff. I wanted him to be sure to know there are some of us very provincial property owners here who love this city and want progress and would like to counter Mr. Progress.
I understand that, and certainly if I could, if it's helpful in this discussion, I did reach out to Mr. Quirby's to let him know that my interpretation of the zoning is more in line with the fact that they're asking for a zoning change, and it doesn't seem that zoning is accidental. It does seem that it's zoned C1, which used to be B1, intentionally to buffer the nearby residential area. And so, barring some compelling reason to change that, it seems that was done intentionally, and it was reconfirmed when they just redid the zoning maps under the UDC. Had it been the intention to change it for long-term development purposes, that would have been another opportunity to do it. So, we are being asked to consider the zoning today, particularly the zoning, or tomorrow, the zoning change. But I know there have been a number of other things discussed about this particular project. I have to say that I hope we don't hear a lot of negativity about the developer or the realtor or any of that, because they're trying to do a job and they're trying to make this site usable again. And I think that they have done that in earnest, and they have come with these proposals. I don't see the compelling case to change the zoning at this point in time, but I hope that the neighborhood does consider what can be done there and what could be supported there, and what what could be developed there in a positive way, because I think it is a difficult site, and acknowledge that. And so I don't mean to say that to preempt any other discussion, but I do think that it's relevant. How I'm interpreting it. Okay, back to order. Okay. Mr. Spalding, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, William Spalding. I live at 3503 Madison Park Boulevard here in Shreveport. I pastor a church in the Highland neighborhood, Calvary Chapel, and I live less than half a mile from the old Don Seafood location. I'd just like to oppose the idea of rezoning, especially for this type of a use in that location, both as a resident and also as a pastor. I think that I don't think that anyone's really asking for another convenience store or liquor store in our neighborhood. As a pastor, we are very close. Our church facility is very close to the new Circle K there on Olive Street and Line Avenue. And we minister to and are happy to minister to alcoholics and those that have been affected by alcohol on a regular basis. And many of those individuals find themselves sleeping on our facility, on our property, after buying whatever their next bottle is going to be there at the Circle K, and then coming and sleeping on our property. And so we know from experience that if we're providing another liquor store, another location to buy alcohol, that some folks are going to abuse it, and they're not going to get very far from the location where they purchased that alcohol before they decide to take a nap or lay down for the night. And so I think South Highlands is just a wonderful neighborhood. I think it's one of the jewels of this city. And I just think that we need to do all we can do to protect that neighborhood and not to do anything that would diminish the neighborhood. And I just cannot see how rezoning that location, and especially for this use, is going to help our neighborhood or really going to provide a whole lot of needed funds in the area, especially when you weigh the negative consequences. So thank you very much for hearing us.
Thank you. Steve Brown. State your name and address, Mr.
Good afternoon, Steve Brown. I live on 546 Atkins Avenue, roughly 150 feet or so from the said property that's in consideration here. So basically, I got here, it's the first house I bought, South Island, and about 22 years ago, young captain in the Air Force, and still here, still in that house, and still trying to make progress. And I'd like to say we do spend a lot of money on these homes. I know I've spent at least $200,000 on mine, in above what I paid for it, and I know my neighbors have. And so it's not about, they're like, oh, we got to make this better. Well, we are making things better, and we're holding the line, and we're trying to make South Highland always an improved place. We're not talking about some place on a street corner here. The property that we're talking about is in a historic neighborhood. My house is almost 100 years old, and we're talking about actually on the street with our houses, not on a corner where it's good separation. That's what I'll make real clear here. This is in our neighborhood. So I agree with the gentleman that just spoke. We've got a new Circle K near us. We got a lot of panhandlers now. A lot of people walking up, getting their drink and falling down. It's happening, and this is only going to increase it. And I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but the crime on Kings Highway corridor is only getting worse. And in the 22 years I've been there, I've never seen the brazen attacks and the drug-related crime that we're now starting to see. And some of it's in North Highland and different places. I don't know if y'all go to El Compadre, but Juan is somebody we know very well there. He lost a lung, still in the hospital, and he's trying to help his mother, getting mugged out in the parking lot of the business they own. And so I would say, we're trying to make progress in South Highland. We don't need South Highland to grow. Like that one gentleman said, what we need South Highland to do is stay historic and to motivate people to continue to spend money and invest in it. We don't need a liquor store inside South Highland. There's no one asking for that. No one in South Highland needs a liquor store. At least I haven't met anybody yet that said that we need another liquor store. Nor do we need a gas station in South Highland. I'm talking about in a historic district where people are spending money on their homes. And it makes no sense. Why would you need South Highland to grow? It can't grow. It just needs to stay whole and get better. That's all. And that's really, the way I feel about it. I think most people in the area feel about that as well. For those of us that live there every day and spend our money on our homes and stuff, I think, that's what's relevant here. Not someone, where it benefits one person trying to develop something. I agree the property needs to, something good be done with it, but it needs to dovetail with the community that it's in, to where it benefits the community, not something that brings down the standard. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Graham Todd?
Graham Todd, 503 Atkins Avenue, Shreveport, Louisiana. First, I want to thank the mayor for her comments regarding September 11th, 2001. It's been 16 years, and obviously there's a lot going on still. Mr. Everson, the first thing I would like to offer to you and all city council members is, depending on what happens tomorrow, is we would love to meet and discuss options. That's one thing I've heard from lots of people is they have some ideas about what to do with that, make it maybe some sort of open air market or some sort of activity going on there. Who knows, but something more congruent with what goes on in Highland. Also, I think it was Mr. Everson, last time when we spoke, I brought up the issue that it appeared on the assessor's page that the front property on Kings Highway, those lots, according to the assessor's page, were zoned C1. And I think you had asked that the MPC would double check on the zoning map to confirm that. I don't know if they've gotten back to you. I don't know if you've heard on that. But as you recall, the assessor's page listed them as C1.
I think that was an error. I did get a zoning map that I looked at there. Talking about the ones on Kings Highway.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they're certainly C2.
Great, wonderful. Thank you for following up on that. And then the last thing I want to do is just introduce into the record an affidavit by me into the record which states that prior to the hearing that was held at the Metropolitan Planning Commission, that no notice was published or posted on the property in question. According to the Unified Development Code, there's supposed to be a notice posted in a conspicuous spot on the property in question before a decision on a zoning change occurs. And we never observed. I walk my dogs on that around there on the sidewalk 1 to 2 times every day. I drive by it at least once a day, and there was no notice posted. So I'll hand this over here. There's multiple copies for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Virginia Marks. Virginia Marks. State the name and address, please. You have 3 minutes now.
I'm Virginia Marks. I live at 509 Linden, and I found out about this about 10 days ago. Totally shocked. When the zoning on Kings was changed, the residents who lived on Atkins were promised that Atkins zoning wouldn't be changed. From Byrd High School all the way to Centenary, Atkins Street is residential. There are 3 gas stations that I can think of within a 5 or 6 block area of that lot. We don't need or want another gas station. According to my measurement, Byrd High School is 5 feet within the forbidden zone. And I don't know who measured and said that it's 3 feet out, but I think somebody needs to check that before something's decided. I am very concerned about the crime, and I cannot find one single study since 2012. I spent 3 days on this. I'm a full-time teacher, and I just could not afford any more time. I could not find one study that does not indicate an exponential increase in crime when more outlets come into an area selling alcohol to be consumed off the premises. I am vitally concerned about the area north of Kings Highway. I taught at Rutherford House for 4 years, 4 of the best years that I've ever spent in teaching. It is vitally important that we not
bring more of these kinds of facilities into this neighborhood. And the folks you are upsetting vote for bond issues. We vote for expanding the public transportation. We care about the city of Shreveport. We care about all facets of it. And if you go ahead with this, it's going to encourage more citizens to move out of the city limits. I'm so worn out trying to fight this kind of thing, and my husband just won't give up, and I swear I am not either. And I mean, talk about tax base. If we all move out, what's that going to do to the tax base? Do you really think and I've heard it called a 5-pump, 10-pump filling station that is selling beer and wine that close to Byrd High School is going to bring in enough tax for the folks who are fed up and move out to the lake or out south of town? Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Bill Weiner?
Is this the public comments section?
Yes, sir.
Oh, excuse me. Before we get started, I put in 2 cards.
Yes, sir.
One for 161 and one for 147.
Yes, sir.
I think it would be prudent and efficient.
161.
Okay, but if I could address them both at the same time and have more time, it would be a lot easier because it's a continuation.
We got to suspend the rules that allow him to have 6 minutes.
You got 6 minutes, sir. You can
Huh?
point it to the clerk very quickly right here.
I didn't hear your answer.
6 minutes.
You
got 6 minutes.
Thank you. I want to talk about the arena site development and address some points which I think are very critical, that you need due diligence and get accurate information. And I'm going to end with showing you how to turn a lemon not into lemonade, but even into a margarita. And I think it's possible. And it will. 3 more minutes. Anyway, I've been to a lot of these meetings, and there's all kind of information going out there, but it's not put together. I've been involved in real estate investments, and we always have a pro forma, year by year, that shows the income, the expenses, etc. And we see sometimes it's above the line, sometimes it's below the line, and it looks out 20 years. There has never been a pro forma that shows the entire picture of what the exposure to the city is at any different time, and I think that's really needed. And one of the things, the pro forma should show everything, like the land that is being proposed to be acquired. We don't know how that's financed. Is it part of the $30 million? Is it coming out of something else? Or is it for the developer? We heard a little bit of this today. What is the phasing to build what, at what cost, and the time for each phase? Why has the issue of a performance bond not been discussed and mandated? I cannot imagine going into something this big without a very stringent performance bond so that under any circumstances they can't walk away, either the team or the developer. It's done on all public construction jobs. Why not here? We saw all those numbers about the tax advantages and the sales tax. But what wasn't missing, Shreveport's population is diminishing. There are more houses for sale than I have ever seen. The boats' income are diminishing. And so if you have new retail there, it's not new customers. It's taking a customer from this part of town to come here, and they don't pay their sales tax there. They pay it here. So you've got to study that offset. It's not all gain. It's offset as the people move. The hotel revenue, it's just bogus. Did you know, probably some of you know, that you can rent a hotel room, a very nice one, at the casinos for $25 a night? This can't compete with that. And with the casinos' visitation going down, there are going to be more incentives. As an architect, what really bothers me is the site plan. It is not what Shreveport would want. They had fine developers develop it for them, but it was developed for them to increase their bottom line. It is not developed for Shreveport, what we would want for our quality of life in that dedicated public open space. So, and what is Shreveport going to have to add beyond what's been talked about to develop the open space and the trails along the bayou? That has to go in the performer. Now, I don't know a lot about this. The SEC is looking into these types of revenue bonds where there wasn't good disclosure and backing for the revenue. I've looked at 2 cities, but just yesterday I was told that they're now looking at 50 cities. You need to really look into that. And there'll be increased city costs, police, cleanup, garbage, everything, and that needs to go into the pro forma. Now, the Margarita, the toxic site will be so expensive to remediate that it'll bankrupt the city if the city had to pay for it. So you should in no way get involved in ownership of that property. I've been through this on a corporate board, I know. But there's another way. Looking back 50 years of Cross Bayou, this was before the Red River navigation, we've always talked about a marina there. Instead of remediating all that stuff, dig it up, take it to the new site, and make that hole 10 feet deep and make that a marina where the people who are in these units living and people in town can either rent a space or have a condominium and get their boats out of their front yard. Real quick, the site plan is not our plan. It ignores Cross Bayou entirely. Doesn't have the dedicated public open space. It's much too dense. It's confusing and boring. It's nothing more than a crowded low-end housing project that will ultimately become a slum. Now, there is a better way. This is real quick.
Your time is expired.
I can give you the solution. Can you give me 30 seconds? You know, I've been to so many of these meetings and you never...
30 seconds. Let's go. 30 seconds.
1, stop the direction that you're going now. 2, have a public visioning meeting to produce a statement of what this community ultimately wants down there. 3, from the vision statement, have a professional draft a design program. That's you find out what you're trying to do, and a professional, an architect or some other, drafts a program of this is what we want to do. 4, have a design competition to select the site plan. Let people around the country submit. The winner gets the job. 5, engage a local architect to develop the drawings for the winning site plan. 6, do your financial studies. 7, bid in construction. 8, enjoy. And thank you so much for the extra time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Philip Roseman.
Dr. Roseman? He's a doctor.
It is doctor.
It is doctor.
Nobody calls me
What'd you say?
Dr. Roseman, would you state your name and
Yeah,
address, please,
I'm
sir?
Philip Roseman, 510 Longleaf, Shreveport, Louisiana. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I'm here as co-chair of the Citizens Advisory Group of the Great Expectations, the master plan for Caddo and Shreveport. I'm going to just take this from a perspective of analysis of the master plan in relation to this proposed project. The hallmarks of a successful master plan, the goal of our Great Expectations, was to challenge the expectations of the public, to imagine what Shreveport can be, to lay out a work plan, and to provide a rationale for priorities. The first three key themes of the Great Expectations are these. First, a bold approach to taking charge of our future. 2, to grow smarter, to attract investment inside the loop, to create a vibrant and connected community. 3, celebrate our uniqueness. A city with the only real urban downtown in the Arklatex, a place where you can live in a historic building in the heart of the West Edge Arts District or in a new Cross Bayou neighborhood. As it relates to downtown, the vision in Great Expectations is keeping downtown, quote, vibrantly alive with residents and businesses in historic and new buildings. A downtown with a revitalized riverfront district linking Cross Bayou and the city center to Shreveport's origin on the banks of the Red River. A downtown of different neighborhoods offering attractive and affordable choices for young singles and couples, families with children, and retirees. On Thursday this past week, I made a presentation at Shreve Memorial Library talking about these issues. I mentioned the master plan example of Greenville, South Carolina, as a good example of what we felt was the advantage of a focus on downtown development. Over 2-3 decades from the 1980s, there's been key Greenville projects, including Greenville Commons, Performing Arts Center, a hotel, a park, a retail development, condominiums, the West End Market, and a baseball stadium. Greenville created a mixed-use development over time. They invested $80 million of public funds for $160 million private. After the presentation, a panelist noted that this wasn't a fair comparison, since Greenville County was so much bigger than Caddo Parish, and that is a true statement today. But when I went to Greenville in the early 1980s to interview for a physician practice there, before the development of downtown Greenville, the population of Greenville County was 280,000. Caddo Parish was 250,000. Today, Greenville's population is double it, 500,000 people. Caddo is still 250,000 people. The panelist was right. There's a difference now. The difference came about because Greenville acted on its opportunity. The point is Greenville used downtown development to help spur growth, to help attract industry, jobs that have come to this area. Downtown development was a spark. It was a catalyst, as I've heard today, an indication of a can-do attitude in Greenville, a boost in confidence for those looking at the community from the outside, and a source of pride for people who live there. I heard it said today our community has a loss of confidence. Greenville had that same thing in the 1980s. I saw it when I interviewed. I saw it again at my niece's graduation from Furman a couple of years ago. It's an entirely different place. So from a master plan perspective, this plan for mixed-use development on Cross Bayou meets the key themes, its vision, and the downtown development priorities of the master plan. And lastly, this is not a project that helps us, it is a project that helps us imagine the master plan goal. A downtown with a vibrant new development at Cross Bayou and the riverfront at one end. A vibrant art, cultural district at the west edge on the other end, and in between, a thriving business district and a focus on Texas Avenue as Main Street. It is an opportunity, one that we shouldn't dismiss too quickly. Thank you so much for what you do, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rhodes. Next is the Honorable Representative Barbara Norton.
First, thanking God for this day, to the mayor of this great city, and certainly do thank you for the vision and all your hard work, and to the chairman of this council, and certainly to each and every one of you who are representing as council members. Should I say good evening to you all. I'm honored to be again back here in the city of Shreveport. If I may, let me for just a minute, on behalf of the state, let me commend this realtor company here for their efforts and their hard works in looking here in our city to say that I want to be a part of the family. We want you all to know that this would not be taken lightly, and we appreciate you all. If you all would like to, you can bring over $100 and some million to the state, and I'll make sure that the governor says okay. I will. But again, let me just say, you know, really and honestly here, it's really a sad day. It's really a sad day here in the city of Shreveport. And the reason why I say that is because we're looking for someone who lives in another state to come into our city and tell us what we need to do and how we need to do it. I commend you guys for the efforts and all the works that you've done. I really commend you. But I say to you today, why not the city of Shreveport? Why Florida? Why not the city of Shreveport? I think there's a responsibility that we have as elected officials. And that responsibility is to make sure that we provide services, to make sure that we provide jobs, to make sure that we provide economics, to make sure that we provide good family-orientated things that citizens can do right in the city or right in the state. Those are responsibilities that we have. You know, if I could get you all to not look at me, not focus on me, not focus on the mayor, not focus on yourselves, but focus on the citizens. Because at my office, I have a list of people who's been calling for jobs. And I don't have a job that I can give them. I only have one job in my office. And I can't give them that because Charlotte has it. But at the end of the day, this is a responsibility that we have as elected officials. If not on the table today, then what day? If you move this off of the table, tell me what else do you have on the table of this magnitude, that's this large? What do you have? What can we as citizens, look for tomorrow if you take this off the table? Someone call me and say, let's have lunch, I'll pay for it. And tell me, what do you have to put on the table? It's going to be this large. I don't believe, I did some research, and I don't believe that there's other states in this country that people are bringing over $100 million to say that we want to be a part of the family. We want to work with you. We want to help you. We want to make sure that we give those persons that you serve jobs. And let me say this to you all. I represent 45,000 people here in the city of Shreveport, not in the parish, in the city of Shreveport. And I've not had one single call to say that this was a bad idea. The vision was a bad idea. I've been out all this weekend talking to people last week and week before. I still haven't heard one person tell me that this is a bad idea. When I heard someone say up here that citizens are saying this is bad, this is not good, well, what citizen does not want a job? Well, what citizen does not want to have some type of recreation for their family? What citizen does not want to live in a city where the city is growing? And at the end of the day, let me say this. I am a part of this city. I grew up here. This is my city. This is where I live. This is where I'm going to stay. And I'm asking each and every one of you not to look at yourselves, but look at the citizen, and let's make sure that we give them a fighting chance. That's all they need. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kelly Wells.
Thank you, Chairman, Mayor. I know I've got a vote before you tomorrow to move forward with this, and I'd just like to say that I learned a lot 3 or 4 years ago about leadership and management with the Sports Commission and the hotel occupancy tax. The first year that we went after it, we lost it 51 to 49%. One of the key things I heard, and that was probably one of the most horrible moments, and I respect y'all for being in the public eye, because it's not all free lunches and everything else. There's a lot of hard-working decisions that y'all make. But one thing that I learned, after the week or two after that was so many folks came up, and it seemed like we got more positive media on the back end of it saying, as far as education, and a lot of folks came up and said, if I would have known this ahead of time, we would have voted differently. So I think that the next time around, of course, Mayor Tyler was on board, and again, so many other leaders. Instead of it failing 51 to 49%, we got out and we educated folks on the benefits, and it passed, I believe, 82 and 84% in both parishes. This decision's not to be taken lightly. I know it's a big commitment. From the Sports Commission as Executive Director, we've been sitting down and looking at the performer and things, and sitting down with SMG and other partners to see how can we make this venue work, this development work. And we're seeing some great opportunities there. I was talking to Ken Annie, who was over officiating at the Tech Mississippi State game. I dare say if Ruston and Tech would not have invested in that stadium, then we might have had a shot to have that game over here. But one of the things they did was improve on that stadium so that they could host bigger events like that. My thought is let's at least continue to explore this. Let's look at it. We've got a lot at stake, moving forward with it. The Pelicans are in downtown. I think, the downtown Shreveport area is the visual eye. When you think of Atlanta, when you think of Dallas, when you think of New Orleans, what do you think of? I think of the Reunion Tower in Dallas. I think of, Bourbon Street and that whole downtown area in New Orleans. It really is the brand not only for the city, but the two cities, and this region. One of the three top priorities of the Sports Commission when we put our business plan together is to foster greater opportunity to expand the number, type, and sizes of sporting events for the area. And part of that is to work with the city and the private partners to explore these opportunities. So I applaud Mayor Tyler and her team for working with, for at least putting this proposal in front of y'all today. I looked at other cities around the area, and there's dozens of projects. I know that Birmingham's been mentioned. Huntsville, Alabama, just a ton of other cities. And one thing that I saw in reading media articles, a lot of these other folks have the same concerns that y'all do. The same questions are being brought up. But I just ask that y'all look at it. I'd like to close and just by saying, again, something close to here. I felt short-term thinking. I think there's other incredible opportunities. I think just from our town hall meeting last Thursday, it really opened up some of those communities that I really think all came in to oppose. But the more we educate the folks, the more questions they're asking, and the more they're starting to think, hey, we really think this could work. Marketing 101 says that if you have a bad experience at a restaurant, 10 folks are going to tell you about the negative things that they had. And most folks who are having a good time will just come back and share their business with you. Scott Wysong shared this, and I'll close. Talking about other leaderships, and I really think y'all are leaders up here. I think sometimes I get so busy managing the Sports Commission that I've got to also balance out what are those events that we can do in 2017, 2018. I think Mayor Tyler and y'all's leadership have done a really good job of dealing with those infrastructure issues. But I think the leadership side, if you look at Laura Miller, she was the mayor of Dallas that received the phone call from Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones' original intention was to upgrade and renovate the Cotton Bowl in the Dallas area. Well, guess what? Jerry never got a meeting with Mayor Laura Miller, so they went to Arlington. I know the Irving Sports Commission director in Irving, and they're playing a lot of catch-up and a lot of brainstorming to figure out how they can accept the loss. I don't think Shreveport, it's kind of like the Southwest Airlines argument. We got to have a lot of babies to get Southwest Airlines here. I think the NBA, which is, worldwide, you've got the NFL is the most valuable sports organization in the world. Number 2 is Major League Baseball. Number 3 is the Premier Soccer League in Europe. And number 4 is the NBA. Dennis Lauscher, the president of the Saints and the only president of an NFL and NBA team, told me back in February, the NBA has done an incredible job of promoting the sport around the world. The reason they changed from the D League to the G League in the last 2 months is because they're rebranding everything. And I really do feel we're on the cups from the G League side of really making it roll. So I just pray that you guys really consider it. And I know you're getting the negative side of it. I think the mayor and other organizations like the chambers are getting out and they're educating. And what I've seen is a turn of the tide. People just want to be informed and educated and involved. I just pray that y'all consider
Yeah,
that.
before you leave, number 4 horse won the Louisiana Super Derby.
So, number 4 horse.
Florida racing stables.
Relatives. So he was talking about this. Councilman Fleur was talking about the Super Derby on Saturday. He was telling me a little bit about the sport of horse racing. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Well, let me ask you, what do you, before sports attractions in Shreveport, how would you rate those?
As far as what venues are being used the most, or what?
No, the sports interests themselves.
You know, I think sports have grown to be such a huge industry. You know, I disagree with the fact that Shreveport does not support sports. You know, what I heard was, you know, you look at the LSU season tickets. I think next to Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Shreveport has the largest number of season ticket holders. Being the age where my kids are 9 and 11, I have to make the decision to watch. You know, a lot of kids think playing sports is playing them on their video game, but you know, I think Cargill Park and the investment that's been made out there is great, because there's pretty much an event every weekend that takes place out there. Having the BMX out there, I think having this venue downtown is extremely important. You know, the Pelicans told me, you know, the Saints is a different story, but, you know, with the NBA, the Pelicans having their venue downtown, 20 to 30% of their folks who attend NBA Pelicans game in downtown New Orleans are visitors who are staying there. It's kind of like baseball parks. You know, it's the same reason that, you know, Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is where I came before, is looking right now at a proposal to tear down a baseball stadium that was built 17 years ago and rebuild another stadium right across the river to kind of build that development side of it. So I think the NBA, for our community, for our demographic, makes a lot more sense. You can go to a G League game for less than what you can go to Tinseltown, even though I love the new leather recliners over at Tinseltown. But I just think that they've really found a good niche of really growing the NBA brand. So, you know, I think some of the questions, you know, I've never been involved with the development of the scale, but I just think that it's something that we should look at, and we should ask those tough questions. You know, a mentor told me 15 years ago, Kelly, even if you have the money and the resources, he said, don't do something without strong and experienced partners. And again, given the small amount of time that Mayor Tyler and her team have had, Attorney Bradford, you know, Brian Crawford, you know, I think Brian did come back from Plano. He had the world over there. A media person told me the other day when we were talking about the Conference USA basketball tournament, he said, Kelly, there's no way in the world you can bid against Frisco, Texas, and their new development over there. Well, I'll tell you what, we've got some great assets besides a $100 million facility. We've got a great location. We've got passionate folks, you know, that want to see Shreveport grow. You know, when we bring these clients in, I hope we don't have to get in the car and show them, oh, we've got, you know, where are those 300 restaurants at? Because, again, a lot of folks don't leave the downtown area. I'm hoping we don't have to we'll still get them in the car, but I just think developing that area, leaving that town hall meeting on Thursday, I thought, you know, wouldn't that be cool to be leaving the downtown library and walking over to a G League game or a concert or something of that nature. So I think with corporate realty and, again, Benson and him being a great businessman, and, again, the NBA giving the green light, at least explore it further, and then let's shut it off if we get to the point where we don't think that it's a good decision. So that's all I'm asking today.
Stacy Brown.
Stacy Brown, 629 Spring Street, Shreveport, Louisiana. Thank you for allowing me to come and talk a little bit today about the reasons why I am supportive of this development. The Shreveport Visitor Convention and Tourist Bureau is charged with not only marketing the community for, I'm sorry.
I'll go get one of them. Okay.
Tell them we're timing their bathroom breaks.
of order, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Thompson, you may want to give us some insight. If there's no legislation to be voted on, can we continue to hear public comments?
Can't continue the meeting.
I was always of that impression, but the city attorney makes a final determination.
That is
Under open meetings law, if you're conducting public business in an open forum and it's a notice meeting, you have to maintain your form in order to conduct business. And this is, you're deliberating, essentially, is what's occurring now.
Basically, you have to sit until we get back. So you want to stand all the time.
Feels good to stand up.
No, I'm not saying.
I did take my shower this morning, I promise.
Good.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, you have your form.
Okay. Go ahead, Steve.
Good afternoon. The Shreveport Visitor Convention and Tourist Bureau is here not only to market and promote, to bring visitors into the area, but it's also here to look at the product that we offer to tourists and how do we continually improve that and upgrade that so that we can bring new visitors and keep those visitors that are already coming back again. During this process, I've heard some people make some comments like, Well, we don't get visitors here. Do you realize that every year we have more than 4 million people spending the night in a hotel in our community? That's a lot of people. A lot of those people are coming back multiple times. Well, to do that, they want something new. They want something different. They want a new experience. So not only do we need to look at diversifying our product to keep those new visitors coming, but to keep them coming back again and again. It might be an event during a peak need period. One of our peak need periods is during the holiday season, during the Christmas, and might be an event, or it might be something to look at year-round, bringing those people back again and again. Another comment I've heard is about the Riverfront Fund. That fund was specifically developed to help build our tourism product, to keep it renewed, keep it refreshed, do things to build our opportunities for the future. So this is the exact kind of project that fund was developed for, so that we could create synergy and bring more people in. Some of the things that we do know, we know that we've lost some conventions because there weren't enough restaurants within walking distance of our convention center. We know that we've lost some events because we didn't have enough hotel rooms attached to or within walking distance of our convention center. We know that we've lost some events because we didn't have enough space within our convention center itself to host that event. When our convention center was developed, the recommendation was have a 500-room hotel attached. Well, with the public funds available, what we could do at the time was 300 rooms. Here's an opportunity to bring another 125 to 200 rooms basically attached to that development and increase our opportunities there with the convention center. It also improves the walkability from the casinos to the convention center. One of the things as you're going to other places like the French Quarter, you will walk for blocks and blocks and blocks because you're seeing things. It's lighted. The storefronts are occupied, so you're keeping going. Right now, you don't see that between the convention center and downtown or the riverfront. There's that gap, and so that people don't really feel comfortable walking through there. This will help create that walkability. Visitors want a number of things in one area. They want to be able to have that synergy, park their car, get out, walk, be able to come to one place, go out to eat, have their entertainment, bring their family, maybe do some shopping, and all of that within that one area. This is also a great way to develop the downtown area more by creating more people coming to downtown. I have many friends who never come downtown. I come every day. Many of them just don't see a reason to come down. This will help build that synergy in the downtown area and get more people coming. Also, more people living in the downtown area. One of the things we've been lacking is a market in downtown, a grocery store. So you've got to have that fine line between enough people to support it and then having that grocery store and a place to shop. So that's another opportunity we have. Fred Kent is a world-renowned planner that plans urban and especially riverfront developments. And one of the things he said when he came here was, your riverfront is terribly underutilized. People love water. They want to be connected to water, and you really haven't found a way to do this. We have studied and studied and studied. We have a lot of plans on the shelf. We have the master development plan, Cross Bayou plan, and those plans have been severely underutilized, and now is an opportunity to take advantage of that development to bring that connection to the river. At the Lieutenant Governor's Travel and Tourism Conference, one of the speakers was the Director of CEOs for Cities. He said, here's a serenity prayer for cities. God, grant my city the vision not to let what we know limit what we can imagine. The speed to skate where the puck is going, the courage not to play small, and the wisdom to make our city the city people can't wait to get to and never want to leave. One of the things they talked about is, yes, do your due diligence, study the issues, but do it in a timely manner or the opportunities will pass you by. So I really want to encourage you to vote tomorrow to continue this dialogue. There are still a lot of questions that we have not had the time to get all the answers to. Questions that need to be answered. That's what this is to do, is to continue that dialogue. This mixed-use development, you ask why? Why is this important? Why this synergy? It's part of a perfect storm for tourism and for locals because it brings a mixed-use development, a sports complex. The Pelicans G League is an anchor tenant of that sports complex. It's a perfect complement adjacent to the convention center and to downtown, and will help build that synergy to drive new visitation. So I really encourage you to look into this opportunity more. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. We have Tyler Como. State your name and address, please, and 3 minutes, sir.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tyler Como. I live at 9918 Beaver Creek Drive. As you can see, I'm a young professional in the city. I've met most of you all, and I want to go along the point that I should say Attorney Bradford said earlier. I'm a young person with a young family. Luckily, for my sake of being here, and I love the city of Shreveport, my wife is from here. Other than that, to be quite honest, there's not that much to attract our age people. I mean, if you want to count me as a millennial, you want to count me as the Gen X or whatever it is, basically there's not much to attract our generation. This development would provide something to attract. We go on the boat all the time. Why not have a little boat dock out there with restaurants that people can see out in the summers and spring and fall and see that type of stuff? But I just want to talk about a little bit about the catalyst that this could be. It could create what DDA has already had in momentum going in downtown Shreveport. I work and live down. I mean, I work down here. I don't live down here, but I work down here. There's very few restaurants for the amount of people that are down here. Why not have something connected to the city that you can walk to at lunch and go get some lunch? I know people at the City Hall share the same sentiment, and I know a lot of people that work in the same building I work in. There's just not that much to do down here, and why not bring some more synergy around downtown? Make it safer, make more pedestrian-friendly traffic around here. There's going to be, and DDA understands, I think, that the foot traffic will increase, albeit there may be some more foot traffic there initially. There's going to be a foot traffic increase all throughout downtown. So it's not just at this development, it's throughout downtown, not just their profits. It's going to be DDA as a whole. I urge all of the public to not rush to judgment on this, because this legislation, as you all know, is non-binding. All it's saying is we have the intent to move forward. This is going to cost the city very, 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 very little money, in that the bond attorneys that are going to investigate this are not going to get paid unless the bond goes to closing, which you guys will have to vote on again. So I want to make sure that the public all knows, because one of the big misperceptions is we're going to vote for this and everything's going to go downhill. We're going to have an arena and nothing's going to be thought out and had public in I guess, comments to. So that's one of the big things that we have to think about too. And the public, I would urge the public to get all the facts about this, because this legislation that you all are voting on tomorrow is not proceeding with anything. All it is trying to get more of the facts that we need and the questions that you all and that we as the public have, and that everybody is working on. You know, everybody here. And then I'll leave you with this. I think the Times article came out and it said, you know, proceed with caution with this article. There's a difference between leadership and a manager. Leadership is having a vision and seeing that vision through for the next 20, 30, 40 years. That's what the master plan is for. A manager manages that vision. Somebody has to take a step. You all have an opportunity to take this step and vote this thing at least to the next step forward, to where we can all talk more and find out more of the facts, find out more of what needs to be mitigated on the site, find out, you know, what types of property acquisitions we may have that may cause issues, those types of things. But in order to say no right now is basically shutting down somebody to say, I'm willing to invest this much money in your community. And we yes, $30 million is a lot of money, but we can't invest $1 for every $5 of theirs. That's a strong sentiment to the public as a whole, but also developers. I mean, we are looking at MPC right now. MPC, because it's too hard to do business with the city of Shreveport. What's harder to do business with the city of Shreveport than turning down somebody willing to spend over $100 million in our community? Turning down the fact that we can't afford money that was already dedicated for economic development along the Red River for your $100 million. That's one thing that I want to leave you with, is that the vision going forward. MPC is, yes, it may be difficult, but we're basically turning down a developer that wants to spend $100 million in this community. How long before we're going to have to wait again for $100 million to come in our community again? That's all I'll leave you with. Thank y'all for y'all time today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler.
Rick Holland.
Rick Holland, 330. Sir?
You didn't wear no hats today.
No, sir. Well, I was going to mention
Right.
there's a failure in the equipment y'all have in here because everyone that's come up, their hair has turned red. I don't have that problem. Rick Holland, 330 North Wickford Circle, Shreveport, 71115. I just wanted to recant and talk about, some visions that I've seen about the city since I've lived here. I've been a lifelong citizen. And, not much has gone on in the last few years. Not much development's coming on here. And it reminded me of the time when Keith Hightower got elected. And at that time he got elected, he said, nothing's been going on. Nothing's been happening in the prior administrations here. He says, I'm going to make some things happen. I'm going to make some mistakes, but I'm going to make some things happen. And you can see that's evidence now about where we would be without the convention center that we have here, in addition to the stadium, the new Hilton Hotel. If you look at San Antonio and what they did with the drainage ditch, what could we do with Cross Bayou? Have any of you been up on Cross Bayou and seen how beautiful it is? You go up out there, it's magnificent. You can see housing, all kinds of opportunities to be there. I've been a banker, but I've also done a lot of sports promotion, over the years. Tennis, flag football, all kinds of things. And 20 years ago, I got to know the New Orleans Saints. We did a preseason scrimmage game up here. And I've had ongoing conversations with them, and I can tell you they're a class act. Tom Benson, the Fortune 500 guys, worth $2.5 billion. When does that ever happen? When does a Fortune 500 company come knock on our door and say, I want to do it? And I'll tell you one thing about their organization, failure is not a part of it. It's first class all the way. You've got Mickey Loomis, who's the general manager of the football. He's also the executive VP of the basketball. Their opportunities are unlimited. I can't promise you today that if we can get the Pelicans development done, that the New Orleans Saints training camp would be here, but I will tell you there have been multiple discussions about it. But it creates the opportunity. We don't want to shut the door in Mr. Benson's face as long as that is an opportunity. What is the value of the publicity? We've seen what the value of publicity in the Independence Bowl done for us before. How about the NBA? How about the NFL? Does that put us on the map? Everything we do in our professions and in things like that has risk. And sometimes you got to take risks to make things happen. So I would encourage you, vote for this. Thank you for your time and your effort and all your energy you put in here.
Thank you, Rick. Don Olson.
Good afternoon. My name is Don Olson, 7124 South Lakeshore Drive, 71119. I'm here today speaking as chairman of the board of the Greater Shreveport Chamber of Commerce. We've been down in the weeds talking about a lot of questions that haven't been answered about this project. But what do we know about this project? It'll make useless property productive. What's wrong with eliminating a scrapyard from our cityscape or creating a gateway to our Waterworks Museum? It will create jobs, lots of construction jobs, lots of commercial and retail jobs. Why would we say no to that? We didn't say no to Samstown. We didn't say no to El Dorado. We certainly didn't say no to the Haynesville Shale development or development at the port. It'll create alternative residential and retail options. We didn't say no to repurposing the Sears building downtown. We didn't say no to other retail shopping developments. It'll bring outside investment to Shreveport. We have a billionaire sports team owner and outside investors with well over $100 million to pony up for this project. Successful investors are not successful because they make bad investments. The fact that we have the Benson organization behind this and a developer that's been successful with ventures like this in the past is very comforting to me as a citizen, and should be to us all. The Chamber is all about economic development and economic prosperity for our region. It's about bringing new business to the area, along with new jobs that come with it, and about improving conditions in the area so that existing businesses can prosper, they can grow, spawn new startup companies, and create new employment and entrepreneurial opportunities for this community. This development along Cross Bayou fits all that, and it fits the Shreveport-Caddo Master Plan. Valid concerns have been expressed. Our experience supporting sport teams has been less than stellar. Our community has other pressing concerns like crime and poverty. The site may be hard to build on. Competition and existing businesses may somehow be affected or damaged by this development. I get all that. But this isn't the captains of the steamer. These dollars are not the same dollars that we use to fight crime or poverty. The site conditions are all engineering concerns and have engineering solutions. And existing businesses are going to thrive or fail on their own merits. Competition doesn't make businesses fail. It makes them stronger. Opportunities come and go. This one's here and now. There are still questions to be answered about it. It's going to create economic opportunity for 1 to 2 cities. Which one will be brave enough to take advantage of the opportunity to create a vision and to make a calculated risk? I hope it's Shreveport. And there may be time to say no to this project, but tomorrow's not it, fellas. Thank you.
Mr. Mark Prevost. State your name and address, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mark Prevost, 601 Spring Street, Shreveport. I'm an architect, and I also own an event venue that we bought, the old car museum building. A lot of people know it as downtown Shreveport. So I've got 2 businesses in downtown as well as a piece of property. I moved to Shreveport 25 years ago, and I was really excited to see my career develop here, and I've had a great career here. Been able to be involved in some great projects, a lot of Willis Knighton hospitals, Independence Stadium, just quite a few projects. And I got to tell you, I was very optimistic about my life here and what I've been able to accomplish. But in the last few years, I've felt that eroding in Shreveport. I've felt a definite shift in public attitude. Councilman Bradford, the question you asked earlier about 8 out of 10, I've seen that. I've felt that. And I think, in my opinion, the answer to your question is people have lost belief and they need leadership. They need somebody to stand up and to say, I believe this is right for you, whether you believe it or not or know it yet, this is what's right. I've done my homework, I've done my due diligence, and this is the right project for our city. As a business owner and a property owner in downtown, I can tell you times are tough. We started off our project, we wanted to have office development. We were not able to do that because the Haynesville Shale basically ended, and office space was a glut in downtown, and we didn't need more office space at $10 a square foot when I needed more than that to make my deal go. So we turned to event space, and we were able to make lemonade out of lemons, and we have a nice event center, and we're happy that we were able to do that. But the value of my property is dependent on projects like this. My future is dependent on projects like this. My entire life savings is basically tied up in this structure. It's dependent on projects like this. If we don't turn downtown and Shreveport around and get something going, then I don't know what's going to happen. And everybody else is doing this. I don't know if you guys have traveled and looked around, but this is not like rocket science, okay? This has been going on for a while, and we're one of the only communities that is not doing things like this. So we can't do that. We absolutely cannot be that community. It's too much at stake. There's too many people that have everything invested here to let that happen. This is a great opportunity. To not take a look at it would be very irresponsible. I trust that you would do the right thing. Thank you.
Ms. Rosalie Cawthorn?
I am not Miss Rosalie Cawthorn. I am still State Representative Norton, but she wanted me to share the message with you all to say that the Voters League of the City of Shreveport stands with the mayor's vision and want me to let the mayor know that they believe that you're doing a great job, along with the council, as well as thanking corporate realty for their efforts and hard work. And at the end of the day, the last thing she wanted me to say was, please vote yes on tomorrow. Thank you.
Was that the lady in the wheelchair?
Yes.
Okay. And she was also with Cheryl Walker?
Right.
Okay.
And a couple other people that she was with. So that was the Voters League.
I had Rosie Roberts, Charlotte James, Lonzie House, George Mayton, and Larry Wimberly. I wish not to speak, but are in support of.
There were more times. Where you from, right?
Let's clear that up for him in case you didn't know that. That's very astute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it. We have appointments to consider tomorrow, Mr. Cook.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
I say we have appointments to consider tomorrow.
We do. We have the Shreveport Municipal Fire and Police Civil Service Board. Are any of these people present?
I think they've already.
Yeah, they've already been here. Yes, yes.
Pastor David
Bowie.
The Greater Shreveport Human Relations Commission, Dr. Sherry Kerr, Dr. Michelle J.
Walkerman.
And for the Shreveport Implementation and Redevelopment Authority, F. Troy Williams and Mrs. Judy Williams.
Okay, there are no items under consent agenda for introduction. Mr. Crawford.
Yes, sir. To adopt ordinances and resolution under the consent agenda legislation, Resolution 150 suspends provisions of Chapter 10 and any applicable provision of the Shreveport Unified Development Code of the Shreveport Code of Ordinances relative to sale, dispensing, and consumption of alcoholic beverages on October 19, 2017, between the hours of approximately 5 p.m. and 9 p.m., located at 6301 Line Avenue for the 6th Annual Dogtoberfest fundraiser. All right. Resolution 151, declaring September 11, 2017 as National Day of Service and Remembrance in the City of Shreveport. Resolution 152 authorizes the City of Shreveport, Louisiana purchasing agent to reject all bids received for 2017 Querbees Tennis Center renovations, IFB number 17-073. I believe the budget for that was about $440,000. The lowest bid of the 6 that we received was $808,000. Just a little off. Resolution 153 declares the public emergency in connection with the emergency repairs of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana airfield drainage systems located at the Shreveport Regional Airport and ratifying the expenditures of approximately $237,750,000 of grants funded from Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development. Resolution 154 authorizes the institution of expiration proceedings against certain described properties within the City of Shreveport, Louisiana. Resolution 155 is in support of the Mayor's response to the letter dated August 16, 2017 from Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development with no objections to the permanent removal of the I-20 pedestrian overpass located approximately 0.70 miles west of the I-20 LA 526 Burcoons Industrial Loop interchange in West Shreveport. Resolution 160 designates the week of September 11, 2017 through September 15, 2017 as International Housekeepers Week. And then Resolution 161 urges the mayor to decline the opportunity to bring the NBA New Orleans Pelicans G League team to Shreveport.
Okay. Councilman Jenkins?
Number one, Art, I'd like to take 161 off the consent agenda, please. Number two, 152. Two questions on that one, and it's really for Shelley, I guess. Number one, is there any opportunity to use dollars on the courts absent of starting the other project? Or are those, because we need the other project to, because that's what they're built on, right? I mean, essentially.
Correct. That bond issue is very specific about the ADA renovations.
Okay.
But we are meeting with our architect and talking to him about some different options, and hopefully we'll have something back soon.
If we thought about maybe going back to the group at that gave us requirements under the ADA.
To the Department of Justice?
Yes, and maybe giving us maybe a little more latitude. I'm not saying that I'm, not in support of their efforts. It is a tennis facility after all, and maybe there's a chance to revisit some of the constraints that we have with that project.
We can certainly visit with the fire marshal, the state fire marshal. We've done that on other projects, and we can do that. But I think there are some things that we can change to bring the project to budget.
I mean, obviously, there are a lot of folks that, that you hear from and I hear from.
Correct.
Specifically about the courts. I don't think we hear quite as much about the building as we do the courts. Let's be honest, right? And I kind of think that we're directing resources that, I understand it's a federal mandate, but I'd like to really see if we can't kind of focus our resources on what the public seems to really want, as opposed to some other mandates. Understand there's some constraints there. And then dovetail that, as you and I have discussed in the past, with really looking at rate increases, because it does seem like the users are willing to pay more to get a better maintained tennis court facility. And I'd say that just globally as a statement, it's not a directive, but it's some thoughts that I have in terms of the outreach that I get about it.
Okay. I'll keep you updated.
Thank you very much. I think that was mine. Thank you. That's it.
Anybody else? Okay. Forward. Ready, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Resolutions on second reading and final passage are which will require only one reading. Resolution 145 authorizes the mayor and Shreveport Police Department to apply and execute grant applications for any and all grants, documents jointly with the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office to the U.S. Department of Justice. This provides a grant for a little over $100,000, with Shreveport PD receiving $60,000 and CSO receiving about $54,000 for additional equipment. Resolution 146 acknowledges that the City Council has reviewed the 2017 Internal Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Report concerning the North Regional and Lucas wastewater plants. 147, employing professionals with respect to the issuance of not exceeding $30 million of revenue bonds Shreveport Sports Complex project in one or more series on a tax-exempt or taxable basis on a senior and or subordinate basis for the purposes of acquiring, constructing, and equipping of a sports complex in the city, paying capitalized interest on bonds, paying the cost of issuance related thereto, and providing for any other matters in connection therewith.
Okay, any discussion? Okay.
Introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to September 26, 2017. Resolution 156 authorizes the mayor and Shreveport Police Chief to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement between the City of Shreveport Police Department and the Louisiana Office of Tobacco, Alcohol, and Tobacco Control for the purposes of allowing the Louisiana ATC agent and ATC analyst to utilize office space inside the Shreveport Police Department. Resolution 157 accepts the 2016 through 2018 Transportation Alternatives Program grant for transit amenities for downtown circulator route. This will allow us to proceed with purchasing new benches for those stops along that route. Resolution 158 authorizes the acceptance of a donation from Wells Fargo Premier Asset Services And Resolution 159 authorizes the mayor of the city of Shreveport to enter into a lease agreement with Southern University at Shreveport for operations of the Milam Street Kitchen Incubator Community Kitchen located at 1210 Milam Street, Shreveport, Louisiana.
Any discussion?
158. Quick question about that. So that's a property that has the bank has taken over and they're going to give to the city?
Yeah, and Bonnie can answer. It's 4435 Olga Street. They do own, or they do have ownership, and they are wanting to make a donation of that property to allow community development to rehab that property for low-income housing, either to a seller or potential rent. But Bonnie can tell you more about it. Bonnie.
Good afternoon. We have a relationship with Wells Fargo under their REM program to donate property to the city of Shreveport for a public benefit. We've chosen to rehab the houses and donate them to a nonprofit organization so that they can sell or rent them to a low to moderate income person.
And then, so they get a marketable title at the end of it?
Yes.
Okay, and when's the last time we did this? Just out of curiosity?
Oh, it's been probably about a year ago.
I got you. And who is did somebody like Fuller Center, or who is the nonprofit that usually is?
A year ago, we donated it to the Fuller Center.
Okay, got you. But it's their tax interest. Somebody's defaulted on their loan or something.
They foreclosed on the property owner.
Wells Fargo owns it. We paid for the rehab and then donate or something. Okay, got
Correct.
it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Crawford?
Yes, sir. Introduction.
159
Sorry.
Okay, 159 postponed.
Hang on. Look at notes. Postpone. 159. Got it. Okay. Introduction of ordinances, Mr. Chairman, not to be adopted prior to September 26, 2017. Ordinance 93 amends the 2017 Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund budget. This will provide a decrease of $500,000 in personnel services moved to materials and supplies to repair 3 water mains in West Shreveport, one a 60-inch main and two 54-inch mains. Ordinance 94 amends the City of Shreveport, Louisiana 2017 capital improvement budget, appropriating the funds authorized therein. This is for airport funding for taxiway 523, adds $150,000 to the project. That's funded strictly from ALA, DOTD, and the FAA. Ordinance 95 is a companion to Ordinance 96. This is the 2017 budget funding contractual services provided to Sportran by Metro Management Association. This allows them to move $43,680 from contractual services to transfer to capital to pay for those bus stops from the amendment that we had read earlier for the new downtown circulator rate once the intermodal facility opens. And the companion to that is the next one, Ordinance 96. This ordinance amends the 2017 capital improvements budget and allows us to receive that $43,680 to match that with $174,720 from the FTA. Ordinance 97 is also a sport train amendment authorizing the mayor of Shreveport Transit Management Incorporated to execute a non-exclusive license agreement with National Railroad Passenger Corporation. This is at 1237 Murphy at the intermodal facility for them to have a bus, an Amtrak bus there once that opens. Ordinance 98 amends Chapter 102 Vehicles for Hire, Article 3A Operating Regulations, Section 102-88 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Shreveport, Louisiana, relative to the transportation network companies. Believe this removes the restrictions from the hold harmless that the city currently has in that legislation. Ordinance 99 declaring the city's interest in certain vacant lots as surplus and our intention to donate certain vacant lots acquired by community development for Phase 2 of the Concordia Place development to Fuller Center for Housing of Northwest Louisiana.
Ordinance 98. Have we discussed that just broadly with the Uber and Lyft folks?
Yeah, I know that was one of the biggest hurdles they had. Depending on what council does, on the introduction, I'll reach out to them again to make sure they're aware that this is.
I mean, not that I'm saying we should do it the way they want it, but I'd hate to do this and this not fix the problem if that isn't. I mean, so my point is, I'm happy.
Let's amend it to where they like it.
Let's make sure we get to the point where they're on board, or we have a reason why we're not going to get them on board.
In all of my conversations with both representatives, that has been the hurdle. I think all the other provisions are in line with what other jurisdictions are doing.
Okay. It's just one thing. some idea that they're sort of satisfied with the solution at some point before we vote.
Okay.
For obvious reasons. Okay, sure.
Crawford. You ready, Mr. Chairman? Ordinances on second reading and final passages. Ordinance 76 amends various sections of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code of May 2017 version. Ordinance number 77 authorizes the mayor and Sportran to execute a lease of city-owned property located at 1237 Murphy Street, Shreveport, Louisiana 71101, commonly referred to as Shreveport Intermodal Facility, Greyhound lines, for the purposes which benefit the public. This is for their lease agreement in the amount of $120,000 annually once the intermodal facility ramps up and opens. Ordinance number 82 amends and replaces Chapter 102 through 127 of the Shreveport Municipal Code relative to Sportran fares. This is a reminder that this does not increase any bus fares. It just adds a couple of different options, a new 7-day pass and a 20-day ride paratransit pass as well. Ordinance 83 designating Winston Street and Gary Street as one-way streets from Texas Avenue to Murphy Street, thereby requiring vehicles to only travel in a westbound or northbound direction ending at Murphy Street. This is also in cooperation with Sportran and the new intermodal facility operations, allowing them to operate more effectively and efficiently. Ordinance 84 authorizes the purchasing agent to advertise for and solicit sealed bids to sell to the highest responsive bidder surplus city-owned movable property, i.e. real estate or real property, and all improvements thereon located in the 400 block of Crockett Street, Shreveport, Louisiana 71101, commonly referred to as the Shreveport Downtown Bus Terminal. Ordinance 85 amends the 2017 general fund, and this is for herbicide that we're moving in environmental engineering and environmental services. They're taking $150,000 out of contractual, adding it to contractual services, moving it from personnel services for more herbicide application to Cross Lake for the Sylvania. Ordinance 86 amends the 2017 general fund budget, and this is for additional legal fees for the Civil Service Board coming out of the city attorney's budget, moving $40,000 from personnel services to contractual services to cover that. Ordinance number 87 amends Chapter 74, Article 2, Section 74 through 31 of the Shreveport Code of Ordinances relative to recycling. Ordinance number 88 authorizes the mayor to execute a lease of a portion of city-owned property located in Caddo Parish at East Stoner Avenue and River Parkway Boulevard, Shreveport, Louisiana 71101, commonly referred to as Veterans Park, to Eco Site LLC for the placement of a stealth flagpole cell tower for the purposes which benefit the public. They are doing that for a $21,000 annual rent to the city. Ordinance 92 amends and reenacts Chapter 42, Section 42-277 of the Code of Ordinances relative to solicitation. The next three ordinances are zoning ordinances. 89 is case number 72-17, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map for the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the northeast corner of Ellaby Road and Gulf Ridge Drive, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RE Residential Estate District to C2 Corridor Commercial District. Ordinance 90 is zoning case C-73-17, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the northwest corner of Highland Avenue and Atkins Street, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from C1 Neighborhood Commercial District to C2 Corridor Commercial District. And zoning case number C-74-17 is an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located east of 12 Mile Bayou, bounded by Nelson Street and Forum Drive, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from NA Natural Area District to I-2 Heavy Industrial District.
Any questions?
Yes. Okay, so 91 is to revert it back. That's the one where we're fixing the mistake, right?
Yes.
Okay. So 89, and I know this isn't my district, but I'm very interested in this because of the precedent. So I'm saying that to begin with. Procedurally, based on the emails that we received from Art today and Karen, and some discussions I had with Mark. So what you're saying is we as a city council cannot even propose C1 if we prefer. We have to either say yes C2 or deny.
That's As the UDC is written now, there is not a provision to allow for
Okay.
modification.
But there is the provision that we could remand it back to,
It's not on appeal.
there is no appeal. Why can't we remand anything back to I mean, we can remand, what prohibits us from remanding anything? I mean, you can't tell me that has to do with the UDC code, because I'm just remanding something back to them.
Look at CAD.
What's that?
Look at CAD. Send it back up.
Yeah, because as part of that, I would also like to propose to the MPC to review why financial institutions that we are clearly stating in our document habitually have drive-throughs, why C1 can have a financial institution, why can't it have a financial institution with the drive-through? Now, I understand why you wouldn't want to have a daiquiri store in C1. I get all that. But in this case, we've kind of, in my opinion, put ourselves into a bind that isn't really appropriate based on the documents that were provided to us.
I think it's, and Karen pointed out to me, the way it's written in the UDC, it says the city council shall take action on the proposed zoning map amendment in one of the following ways, and those two ways are approve or deny. So,
or you could postpone it for up to 90 days, right? I mean, that's in the paragraph up above.
Yeah.
Clearly. So what we could propose is to have the MPC review the possibility of C1 with a drive-through bank. And if they supported that idea, then we could ask them to review this decision and then let them do both of those, and then it come back to us as C1 with the, I mean, that's what I'm wondering is I'm going to use the term workaround. I'm sure it's not a legal term, but I mean, this is, to me, it seems extremely, I mean, we get to a point because we're stuck there because of a couple sentences in a document that I'm not sure we really looked into.
Yeah, he's got Adam's down there.
Who are you looking for?
He was looking for Mark Sweeney.
He's right here.
Oh, okay. I didn't see.
The issue is not the zoning. In this case, it's the next step, which is the special use permit. Where the issue seems to be generating from is because this area across the street is C2 PUD, that's camp forming. So the zoning, as far as zoning changing and along in that area to C2 is a normal thing to happen from a market perspective. Where the issue is the access to Golf Ridge Road.
Okay, but that is a different issue. That
I
is
understand.
very clear in your emails.
Right. And it is absolutely different. But what I'm saying is, in this situation, it would actually, from a time perspective, it would make more sense to make a decision about the zoning case for this particular property. If you did approve it to be C2 zoning, you have the option with the SUP to either approve the bank with the drive-through facility or not.
But see, I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in this being C1 with that SUP. I'm not, because there are some uses in C1 or in C2 that are less compatible if I was a resident than in C1.
Sure.
And so I think we can have our cake and eat it too, to a certain extent here, if we weren't constrained by a few rules. In the old days, we would say, okay, well, you got the C2, but we're going to change it. We're going to make it C1, and then we'll grant you this. It wasn't a SUP in the old days. What were we, exemption or variance or whatever we used to call it.
Extended use.
Extended use. That's the way we would have done it 3 months ago. Now, you may tell me we couldn't exactly have done it that way 3 months ago, but I'm pretty sure that's the way we would have done it from the fighter pilot's perspective. So I'm looking for a way to revert this back to that more pragmatic standpoint.
And what will happen is that to do that will take a period of time because it would have to be introduced to the MPC for an ordinance amendment to the UDC, like you're asking for, It'd have to lay over for about 30 days before it could actually take action on it, which would take you down another to the next meeting, and then it would come back to you guys probably toward the end of the year for consideration as an amendment to the UDC. In the meantime, this case would just be put on hold for a period of time.
But how long until that SUP shows up in front of us here anyway?
It would probably be end of December before it got to you.
Before the SUP come in the current,
Okay, I guess I'm misunderstanding what you're asking.
under the current,
You got to listen real careful because he's a real in-depth man.
So what I'm saying is that for you not to take action on this case would basically put it on hold. You could just say, we're going to delay it for how many months you want to, because you're going to delay a zoning case as long as you want to.
well, according to the document that I'm reading, it says 90 days. but
Right.
that's-
But you can also propose additional time.
Right.
So what I'm saying is to go back and to revise the UDC document to allow for drive-throughs for banks in a C1. It would take us probably to the end of December before you would actually get it back, and then their case would probably be processed in the first part of January. I'm just telling you is much time will go by.
We have to, for them to do anything right now, they still have to go back and go back to the MPC to get this SUP approved, correct?
Okay, so this is what we could do, and just
What you're telling me is my timeline, we got two different timelines
Right.
going already, so it makes it sound that if we don't act on this, but I can't start anyways regardless.
Sure. And so, if you're trying to make an ordinance amendment, I think you're trying to say is, would it not need to go back to the MPC board for reconsideration for a different zoning designation? That would be the most appropriate path to do that. But they wouldn't be able to do that until such time as this ordinance had been approved. Now, we could time it so that the ordinance amendment and this zoning case being reconsidered, they could take action on one and the other, and both would come to you toward the end of December. So that's possible.
Okay, and currently, they are going to finish this here, assuming we approve C2,
Right.
let's say that. Then they're got to introduce their SUP next month or whenever it is, right?
Well, they're introducing that. That'll come back to the MPC board on their October 4th meeting,
Okay.
which means then you would see that case then later on in October, toward your second meeting probably.
So if we go that option, it's a delay of at least a
And that case can't be approved because of the fact this part's not been done over here. So all of this was like a train, and one car after the other would have to kind of stack together before you would ever get the whole thing done by the end of December.
Yes.
So if that's the path you want to go, then certainly that would be the way we'd have to do it.
I mean, it is a little bit frustrating, to be frank with you, that you're telling me to, I'll use the term, fix the situation that I would like it to be fixed, that we will be December before. And that seems a little laborious on something.
But, legally...
Then you write underneath in your comments that say, it is routine for all banks to expect a drive-through
Right.
in
Right. Right.
in the UDC, and that's where I got that. That was
Right.
you that wrote, or whoever wrote that for.
But what I've described to you is the legal process and the time frame it would take for it to get back to you is what I'm trying to say. I mean, we can get there. You can get there many ways. One way is go ahead and approve the zoning for C2 and then approve the SUP. The next if you won't be approving the SUP unless it's appealed to you, which I'm sure it probably will be. But the MPC board approves SUPs. So let's say that the MPC sees the case in October and they approve the SUP, then that's the end of the road, and they're done, unless someone appeals that to you and you make the
I think
decision.
it's probably clear that they're.
I
gonna
think
appeal.
it probably would be.
All
I
right,
have
you
no
guys
doubt
are
about
be
that.
having this discussion. If
That's true.
And do they appeal it to the city or do they appeal it to the parish?
No. Remember, this is inside the city limits.
So since the property is inside the city, they're going to appeal this.
Yes, sir. The road that I was talking about earlier is in the
I
parish.
understand.
And that's a complicating issue, which we don't need to get into today. That will directly impact their SUP approval. Because the parish has certain standards they have to build up to in order to access that road.
So, I mean, this idea that it's making it a longer process because of this new idea that I have,
Right.
I'm not 100% sure is true because they've got a lot of extenuating circumstances.
I would almost, and this is just my personal opinion, I think the best way to do it is let this case go on its merits as is now, then the SUP come in behind it, assuming you approve the C2. If you don't approve the C2, they withdraw their SUP application, it's over with. But if you do approve it, they'll proceed.
Yes, remember my goal is for the bank to have, absolutely, unequivocally, I am supportive of the proposal. There's no doubt about that. I'm just saying it seems like, unfortunately, the way the documents are written, we're allowing this thing, or proposing to be rezoned in an area that is not really the middle ground that would work for both parties because of some matrix that I do think we can change.
And I agree with you. We could certainly change that. It just depends on how long and suffering and patient you are to get it changed. Well, that's the bottom line.
Okay, well, that's kind of where I stand.
Okay.
Yes.
I was wondering if Mr. Sweeney thinks we could remand it to the NPC.
It won't really be necessary to remand it back because there's no other action that they can take other than deny it. So if you basically...
I'm talking about the zoning.
Okay, so if you send it back to the MPC, they can't take it up until such time as we have the ordinance ready to change. In other words, they would see it at the same time the ordinance amendment was occurring. It becomes a timing issue. So that would probably be in November. So either this zoning case, this case could just, you could either say, go back to the MPC, but we can't take it up again until such time as that ordinance amendment.
And the NPC would consider whether or not we could reduce it to C1.
Yes.
And then once if they said yes, we had a text amendment.
Right.
To do that, then the council could take action.
That's right. Again, that would be scheduled when they consider the ordinance amendment in November.
Well, I am sure I'm going to get some input from the parties that are here today on whether that's amenable to them waiting that extra time. So I don't necessarily. I think we've gotten the point out there, and I'm going to look for some contact between now and then. From my perspective, I know it's not my district, but
and just to build on Councilman Jenkins' comments, is there a way to speed this up? Can the MPC board have a special meeting mid-month to take this up? Because I don't think that any of us want to hold up a project. We want to be sure that we get it right. And so that would be my first question is, what could we do to speed this process up and not drag into December or January? And then the second thing is, if we deny the C2 tomorrow, if that's what the council decides to do, would that not hold them up for a year of being able to come back and apply again?
They can't apply for C2. I believe they can apply for C1, but then they'd have to wait for the ordinance amendment to occur.
I don't want to get into a series of steps where we put the project off even more.
Right.
But I would like to, I think we need to make this change to the UDC because it makes sense.
Sure, I understand that.
And as fast as we can do that, I think we should, not just because of this project, but we know that there'll be other things come up, and certainly it's logical. We do need to hear from the person developing this, and is a delay? Are they willing to take that delay?
Yes.
To get it right. And then the other thing I guess that's unknown is the parties that don't like the C2. What other objections are they going to have? Because I think
it's true.
Whatever happened at the recent meeting complicated things a little bit. And now that the parish is involved, because this is very complicated, where there's a piece of property that's basically an island that's been annexed into the city. The roadway we're talking about is not a city roadway.
That's right.
Nor does the resident who is opposing this live in the city. He lives in the parish.
That's correct.
And it's just odd.
It's got a lot of complicating factors to it. It really does.
If you might kind of get the temperature of the board chairman if they may be willing to call a special meeting and let us know that tomorrow. That may be beneficial.
Is there anything that prevents you from having a special meeting or from putting this on the next regular meeting?
Well, our next meeting is October 4th, and I would have to advertise that. I have to have enough time frame to advertise an ordinance amendment to the UDC. But I'll kind of come back to this. My board typically likes for an introduction to occur and then wait 30 days before they act on it. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule. So we could actually, what I would probably prefer to do is to recommend to the chair that we don't do the 30-day delay, in my opinion, and instead just go ahead and put it on the ordinance amendment on the October 4th agenda. That way, then it would speed things up. I feel like that's the best pathway. I do have a few board members who have heartburn over the fact when we do that, but I think we can get past that. We can get past that, I think.
Well, with that scenario,
then that way, then yes,
we would potentially be having that before us at our second November.
That is true, and that to me would be the easiest way, because it would be easier for me to get a quorum at a regular meeting than it is for at heart it is to get a quorum at a second meeting. I have a very difficult time doing that. So I've done it, but it doesn't happen very easily.
I think for a special meeting, Chairman Fleury will probably buy lunch for him.
There you go.
Yes, I would.
So I'll relay that to my chair that we'll try to put it on the agenda for October 4th. And I think I have, because this is the 11th, I should have adequate time for advertising. That's the main thing I have to do is advertise in the newspaper about an ordinance amendment. This is an easy, but we've got, there's a bunch of other ordinance amendments you're going to see tomorrow. That's the 25 out of the 26, and this is like another of the litany of things that we need to change to make it work. So this is a common sense thing, and we don't have a problem with this. So, does that sound good?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me just mention, Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
The discussion was very intriguing in the fact that it's very difficult for you or some of your board. I mean, what scenarios would constitute an emergency for the NBC board to meet and deal with something that is of urgency?
Well, they've done it. I'm just saying. Yeah. Oh, yes, sir. I'm just saying, as with any time you have a second meeting, which is not a scheduled meeting, it's a matter of getting a quorum, and that's always the challenge because people have their schedules set and whatever. It's been done. I haven't had to do an emergency meeting since I've been here.
You have not?
No. But we've had, I'll say we didn't have an emergency. I think we had a special meeting for when we were doing the UDC. It was a different time than we normally have, so that was an example of a secondary meeting in a month. But that was back last year. So it can be done, but you have to prepare for it. So.
I understand that, but my curiosity is that if this body would want to address an issue of what we consider urgency, that will that request be and have weight with the MPC to meet to deal with an item?
Well, of course it would. I mean, anything that y'all ask me or the parish commission asks me, I will carry back to my chair and say, we need to have a special meeting for this particular reason, and certainly we would pursue that. There's no question about that. I'm just explaining to you that it's always the challenge to get a quorum whenever you have a meeting that's not scheduled. That's my point. It's not that it's impossible, it's just that it's not normally what happens with the MPC board.
How many days do you have until your next regular meeting?
It's October 4th.
If you can kind of get the chairman's temperature and let us know tomorrow, that'd be great.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't see him having any problem with doing it. So,
only the chair could call a special meeting?
Yes, the chair can. But we don't, in this situation, we don't need to call a special meeting. We can do it at the regular meeting. That's what we're talking about, October 4th. I was saying that we just don't do the 30-day delay that I was talking about. I can go ahead and put it on the agenda with his concurrence. So we're not talking about doing a special meeting, just a regular meeting, it being on the agenda.
But my question still stands. Who within your structure could call a special meeting?
The chair. The chair. Oh, yes, the chair. Yes.
No number of commissioners?
No, sir. I simply go to him and say we need a special meeting, and he has the authority to set the special meeting, and we notify the other board members.
Okay, Mr. Thompson, anything else on table? We down to where? Table legislation?
We don't have anything coming off, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then there are no HBO bills, no MPC, CPA. Is there any reports from officers, boards, or committees?
I understand there's a infrastructure committee meeting tomorrow.
1:30.
1:30.
Okay. Mr. Thompson, your clerk report?
No reports, Chair.
Okay, nothing else in meeting. Mayor, did you have anything for us?
No, sir, thank you.
Then meeting's adjourned.